In 2024, I changed my life, going from broke and having never made a penny online to being able to quit my 9 to 5 and making over $20,000 a month. And now, after achieving my goals, I want to give back to people who are where I was. In this 3-hour sales masterclass, I'm giving away everything I know about sales so you can start applying it to make your first dollars online. I'm not just going to show you how to sell, but how to land your first sales role. Okay, so let's get into the sales masterclass. The agenda for this course and for this video. First, I'm going to talk about who am I, why am I creating this course. Then we're going to talk about why sales. Why is sales the skill that I recommend not only everyone learns, but especially if you're just getting into online business, you're looking to make your first dollars online. Why is sales my number one thing I recommend to most people? Then I'm going to talk about what we're going to actually cover in this in-depth masterclass. And finally, some important things to remember while you're going through it. So let's get straight into it. First of all, who am I? Well, in 2024, I went from zero, literally nothing, broke $200 in my bank account, to 20K months in just 6 months. And there's some proof on the screen here. This is a screenshot from my Stripe. I've obviously blurred out some of the information of me in November of 2024 getting a payment for $20,000. And I did this only through sales. I was, before doing all this, running a SMMA. A lot of you will know what that is, but I was running a social media marketing agency. I'm pretty sure SMMA is the first thing that you see when you type in make money online, right? A lot of big influencers in the space recommend that. But I tried it. And honestly, I think there's so much to SMMA. You've got to learn so many different skills, and it's so saturated. It's very hard to make work. So I was all in on making my agency. It didn't work. And instead, I decided to go all in on learning one skill, which was just perfecting sales. And I networked and learned from some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the space. This is something that I did last year on this journey. Obviously, I learned sales. I got an amazing sales role. I managed to make a lot of money. But also, in doing that, I managed to meet some of the biggest entrepreneurs, some of the biggest influencers in the business space. On the left there, Sam Ovens. On the right, it's Alex Hormozy. And I've been to events with those guys multiple times and learned a lot from them. And I'm going to pour all of that into this course. So it wasn't always this way. Like, genuinely, like I just touched on, it was pretty tough in the start of 2024, even 2023. This was me. I was stuck in a 9 to 5. I needed to make a change. I really wanted to make money online. And the first thing you do is, well, you go to YouTube, right? You go to probably like a lot of you people watching this video. You're probably thinking, hey, how do I make money online? Or what is the best business model or the best way to start making money online so you can quit your 9 to 5? That was me just like a year or two ago. And I started an SMMA, right? That's the trend. That's what people are doing. They start a social media marketing agency and they think, oh, I thought it was going to be super easy. You just get clients and then deliver a service such as marketing, basically, right? Advertising. But there's a lot to it. And it wasn't as easy as a lot of the videos I watched and a lot of the videos you've probably watched are making it out. So I made some money. I got some clients. I was basically living on, I think, like 2K a month. I was able to quit my 9 to 5 doing this. I had some sales background. I did some door to door when I was younger, some cold calling. So I was able to close clients, but I wasn't able to deliver. That's the thing with these kind of business models, right? You have to learn multiple skills. I'm going to get into this in the course, but you have to be able to do the marketing, or you have to be able to run ads, or you have to be able to sell and prospect and find these clients. So it was a lot harder, and it didn't really work. Again, I managed to quit my job, but ultimately I was making 2K a month with clients that were asking for refunds, and it was just a headache. So that was me back in 2023, 2024. And like I said, it wasn't always this way. I went back on the slides here. But now, after learning sales and finding a role, I really want to give back to people who are where I was, right? Where people were completely, you've got nowhere to go. You're not sure what business model to start, or you've started some sort of business model like an SMMA, but it isn't as like attractive, or it isn't as easy as you thought it was, and you're struggling. And that was honestly me just a year ago. And after changing tack and just doubling down on learning one skill, I was able to generate $20,000 months, live where I want, do what I want, have complete time, location freedom, and make good amount of money doing it. There's a trend. This is what I'm kind of talking about. If you search on YouTube, if you search on most of these platforms, you can just Google or YouTube or whatever. Hey, make money online. How do I make money online? The first things that are going to come up are dropshipping, and it's going to be SMMA. But these business models, I'm not saying they're fully saturated and you can't make them work. You can. It's way harder to go from 0 to 20K a month with a complete your own business, SMMA, figuring out from scratch, than it is to just get into sales and start selling something that's already proven. I'm going to cover this in a minute, but that doesn't mean that you can't start your own thing eventually. It doesn't mean you can't start an SMMA, can't start your own business once you've kind of made money. So this course really is for someone who is struggling, needs to make money online, and has tried things before, maybe hasn't tried anything, but doesn't want to go down the SMMA route of figuring it all out and just wants to focus on one thing. That in 30 days, like 100%, in the next 30 days, you can learn sales and be good enough to start closing deals and making money online. Cool. So why learn sales? Well, first of all, it's a guaranteed way to make money online. It directly correlates to earning potential. If you are good at selling stuff, you can make money. It's as simple as that, right? So it's not like SMMA where if you know how to run ads, you still need to find people, you still need to reach out to people, you still need to get on calls with people, you still need to close them. Like there's a lot to other businesses, even dropshipping, right? If you find the right product, that's hard enough. But then you have to set up the website, set up the traffic, run the ads, lose money that way. So it's a guaranteed way to make money because if you get good at it, it directly correlates to earning potential. So the better you get, the more you can earn. It's super high leverage. You can spend 30 minutes on a call, and I've done this hundreds of times, thousands of times. I've gone on calls, and in 30 minutes, you can make hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars by closing a high ticket deal or a low ticket deal. That's just not seen anywhere else. So again, for the time commitment of even just learning the skill, it might take you a few months to get really good or months to get the basics. But that's what I'm aiming to do with this course, is just give you everything you need so you can watch this video and get straight into it. And again, I'm going to cover even how to find a sales role later on in this course. So yeah, it's super high leverage. You can earn a lot of money for the time you put in. Remote working. You can do sales from anywhere, pretty much anywhere with an internet connection, right? You can do, there's a guy on my team who literally would just walk around airports, Airbnbs, wherever he was traveling, and close deals just talking and walking with the phone. So yeah, you can do it from your phone, your laptop, you can do it from anywhere you want to travel in the world, and you can earn money from there. And this is a big thing I want to cover. Like, just because you're watching this and you're like, hey, I don't want to get into sales, I want to start my own business, doesn't stop you from starting your own business. If anything, it helps. It means that you're going to get the skill set, the number one skill set, in my opinion, for starting your own business. So instead of just jumping in and trying to figure it all out at once, why not double down and learn the skill that's going to help you start your own business eventually, but also get you through the door and make some money without the need to learn everything else or try and figure everything else out. So it doesn't have to just be sales forever. You can still start your own business just after you've made some money. Like, it's way easier to start your own business once you have 10K in the bank. Trust me. Trust me on that one. So what are we going to cover in this masterclass, this free sales masterclass? Well, first of all, some fundamentals, right? We got to go through the fundamentals, the psychology behind sales, why people even buy things, how you can use the psychology of sales to close more deals. So some fundamentals around sales, but also what you're all here for is how to structure sales calls so you can close in one call. We don't want to be having these complex sales systems where you're reaching out to people, sending proposals, reaching out to them 2-3 times a week, trying to follow up with deals that you just let slip through the cracks on the call. So I'm going to show you a sales call structure that closes people in one call. I'm going to get super detailed on that as well. The big thing with sales is objections. If you don't know that yet, you soon will. When people say no, doesn't mean that you can't sell them. It just means they have some concerns. So we're going to do a deep dive in objection handling, how to handle the most common objections that come up on these calls. So people saying, hey, I need to speak to my wife. Hey, I need to speak to my business partner. Hey, I just need some time to think about it. This is all going to link into closing people in one call, which is best going to use your time. So you don't have 2 or 3 calls with the same person. You're able to jump on a 1-hour meeting and make $1,000. Nice. Then we're going to talk about stuff you can do when you're not on a call, when you're not selling, to optimize how much money you make and how many people you can sell and how many sales you can make in general. So we're going to talk quickly about off the call SOP, which just stands for standard operating procedure. So it's a list of things that you can do when you're not on meetings, you're not on calls, that allow you to make more money and make more sales. And finally, as promised at the start, I'm going to show you how to get into sales. So it's not just about learning sales, and I'm expecting you to just go away and start selling something. I'm going to show you my story and how I got into sales, but also how you can use that and get into sales yourself. Nice. So important things to remember while going through this. This course will give you everything. This will be an A to Z on how to sell, how to find a sales role, and everything in between. So you found it. You found the golden nugget. You found the golden egg, whatever you want to call it. This free course will cover everything you need. There's no paid option at the end of this. You do not have to upgrade to my paid program. There's no paid program. There's nothing to sell you, I promise. Check the description. So this will give you everything. Your first sales calls will suck. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Your first sales calls will suck. My calls suck. Like, I almost want to put a recording of one in this masterclass because of how bad it was. Like, it will be uncomfortable, but making money online is uncomfortable. It's not meant to be easy. Otherwise, everyone would do it, right? And then it wouldn't even be worth doing in the first place because everyone's doing it. So if you want the big results, you have to do the painful stuff. And sales sucks. Like, it's hard. But I'll show you frameworks and I'll show you mindset frameworks to make this easier, because your first sales calls will suck. Mine completely sucked. So it's fine. Just the quicker you do the reps, the better you get. Watch the training, apply it, revisit this training. This training is free and it's on YouTube forever, hopefully. So watch this, go and apply it, come back, rewatch it, right? You're not gonna, this is a very long video. So this is not going to be, a one-time thing that you just watch. You can come back, you can skip around, you can go to the objections part if you need some to touch up on your objections. You can go to the sales call structure. You can go to the mindset stuff. If you're struggling to find a role, you can go back to that. So you can skip around the video, watch the training now in full, make notes, apply it, revisit this training. Like I said, I will show you how to find a sales role. This is not given away for free anywhere else that I know of. So by the end of this course, you will have next steps on not only how to sell and get good at selling, but how to find a sales role that will generate you revenue and money straight away. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly your next steps in terms of getting good at sales, but also finding that first role so you can start making some money. Something else to remember, right, is the best way to learn is by reflection. So record your calls and role play with other people. I will talk about ways that you can start role playing towards the end of this video. But for now, make sure you record your calls. Now, you can do this on Zoom. I recommend using Zoom, by the way. Yes, you can use Google Meet. You can use all these other platforms, but just use Zoom. And with Zoom, it's like $20 a month. You can record your calls, store them in a Google Drive, store them wherever you want. People don't care if you record as well. Don't worry about that. Record your calls, and then you can go back over them. You can reference this training and see exactly where you messed up the sale or where you can improve. You can also use applications like Fathom. I use Fathom. There's also some more like Otter AI, which are basically AI note takers on the call. These are great if you're taking a lot of calls. So you can kind of see the brief summaries of calls. But again, you're going to get the most value out of just recording your calls and then going back through and watching them over, which isn't a fun experience, but it's the number one way to self-reflect and improve from that. Awesome. Oh, skipped over it there. My last thing was you can do this. This stuff works. I did this. I've been where you are right now. Stuck. No idea how to make money. Basically just trying different things. Somehow I landed on sales and it worked wonders. I did 20K months last year. And I'm still growing this year as well. And now I just want to give back to you guys. If anyone's in that spot where they're like, hey, this business isn't working, I need to make my first 10K a month, this is the perfect video for you, because I'm going to show you how the skill set to do it, but also how to go out and find roles that you can start selling in straight away. So let's get into it. That's the intro. So we flew through that super quick. In this section, we're going to talk about sales fundamentals. So what we're going to cover is the fundamental principle of sales. Once I understood this, sales became so obvious. Why people buy became so clear. And this is so fundamental to just understand before getting into all the tactical stuff around how to close people and how to handle objections. This is the number one thing to keep in mind. It's something I think about every single day in sales. So we're going to do a super big deep dive on just the fundamental principle and why people end up buying in the first place. And once you understand this, sales will just make sense. The second thing is common misconceptions. So people have a lot of misconceptions around sales. And like maybe you have some right now. And I definitely did before I really understood it and got into it. So we're going to cover some common misconceptions around sales. Finally, some mindset, some things to keep in mind, some key things to understand. Mindset's really important with sales because it can be tough, right? Sales can be tough. I'm sure you already kind of know that, but some common mindset problems and some things to keep in mind, and also just some key things to understand while going through this and while getting into sales in the first place. So the first thing is the fundamental principle of sales. And this is just why people even buy. So why does anyone buy anything? And 99% of the time, it's because of pain. Once I understood this, like I said, it changed the game. It changed everything. Like people buy because they're in pain. People look at your ads, people look at your content, and it makes them realize that there's a problem in their life or a problem in their business in this setting that you might be able to fix. That's why offers are compelling. If you make an offer to someone and it resonates and that they're interested, it's because they believe that you might be able to fix a problem of something that's painful in their life that they're going through, or something painful in their business that they're going through. And you can break this down. Like every buying decision is basically made out of pain, right? So this is kind of the diagram I have here. Current situation. If someone's current situation, they have something, and you guys will have something right now, right? Why are you watching this course? It's like you're probably not making as much money as you want to, or you're not making as much sales as you want to. So your current situation is pain. And that's why you've clicked on, that's why this resonated with you. That's why the title or the thumbnail resonated with you, or this video, why you've watched so far, is because you want to fix that situation. You have a desired situation, which I'll get to in a moment. And your current situation is that you're in pain. Not physical pain, normally mental pain, right? Even just why do you buy a sandwich? There's definitely an argument that there's like pleasure. So there's like two modes of operation. I think I cover it in this slide. Yeah, there's two modes of operation for the brain, or like there's one mainly, which is pain avoidance. There's also seeking pleasure, but if you're seeking pleasure, then you're moving away from pain anyway. So if we just think about it like this, anything that you buy, and once you understand this, it becomes so obvious. Like, why does anyone buy anything? It's because they're in pain. And they have a situation like if they buy a sandwich, it's because they're hungry. If they buy a program, it's because their business is a sales program, right? Let's just say this was a paid program. People would buy this because they want to make more money, or they aren't making enough money right now with their business, or they're struggling with some roadblock. Why someone buys a service is exactly the same. It's like, why would someone buy a marketing service? Well, because they're not making enough money with their business. They're not getting enough eyeballs with their business. So they're moving away from a painful situation. So the brain operates from one mode of operation, which is avoiding pain. And as a sales rep, some people don't even know this. Like when they're booking calls. Like when say someone booked a call to maybe be interested in a program or in our program, for the thing that I sell, some people are just like, yeah, I just want more information. And it's your job as a sales rep, because that's not true. They don't just want more information. It's your job as a sales rep to understand what's going on in their life or their business that motivated them to book the call. What painful situation are they in? And by dragging that out and by figuring that out, you can kind of create this gap. I'm going to get into this in a moment. So most buying decisions, especially in business, are made with this in mind. So normally, I mean, look, there's definitely some examples of purchases that are just pure impulse or pleasure seeking, right? Not necessarily every decision is made because they're in a painful situation, but most, especially in the context that we're talking about, in terms of selling services, or business related things. Cool. If someone's buying from you, then they believe your product or service can solve their pain. This is what I talked about a second ago. Like, the reason offers, the reason advertising, the reason anything works, right? So say we were marketing a program that helps you lose 30 pounds in a month, which is crazy. But like, say we were marketing, someone was marketing that. Well, then people's brain doesn't just walk around thinking, oh, I need to lose 30 pounds. Some people probably does, but most people don't. Most people don't walk around thinking about all the painful things in their life. So when they see an ad or they see a piece of content from you or your offer or your business, that kind of irritates them a little bit. Or like there's like something that happens in their brain where they think, okay, that I'm in this situation, I'm overweight, or I'm not making enough money with my business. This may be able to help me. This may be able to alleviate some of this pain. So this isn't a conscious thing most times that people think about. But once you fundamentally understand that the reason someone's booking a call with you is because they're in a painful situation, it changes how you think about selling or how you think about sales in the first place. Therefore, most people don't really buy products or services. They buy their way out of painful situations. This is so true. So they're not buying a bottle of water or buying a bottle of soda. They're buying their way out of being thirsty. Or they're not even buying a movie ticket, right? If you think about it like that, if you buy a ticket to the cinema, 100% that's moving towards pleasure, right? To enjoy your time or to be entertained. But that's also moving away from boredom, right? So most people's decisions are made out of buying their way out of painful situations. If you just remember this, people don't buy products or services. They buy their way out of painful situations, especially in the context that we're talking about with business or anything that you will go on to sell. It's normally because, even if I think about it now, when we were selling like door to door, right? I said about at the start of this call, I said this at the start of the call, we used to sell internet door to door. Like, we used to sell, internet. So people would buy the internet because of the pain points, not because of the benefits necessarily, right? So if it's like, hey, some of the big things that we had when we were going door to door was like, yeah, the internet's slow, it's laggy. Okay, well, if the internet's slow and it's laggy, then how does that have an impact on your life? Well, the kids are always screaming because the game's freezing or the TV's buffering. Once you figure out that that's the current situation, which is pain for them, you can show them how your product, your service, whatever it is you sell, can help alleviate that pain by reducing the lag or reducing the buffering on the TV, or which will then obviously lead to the kids not screaming and the chaos in the house not happening, right? So it's just a fundamental principle that you need to understand is people buy their way out of painful situations. And once you understand that, your sales calls will be different. The way you even look at just normal people buying things. When I say normal people, I just mean like people who aren't in business. When people just buy things, you'll understand that it's all coming from a place of mainly pain avoidance. Ask yourself this. Why are you watching this course? I said this a minute ago, right? Like, there's a reason you're watching this course. And it's probably not because you want to go from 100K a month to like 150K a month. It's probably not because you're already crushing it in sales and you just want to get a little bit better. Or you want to get, you want to buy a second yacht. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there's definitely people out there. There's maybe the 0.01% of people who are in that situation, and maybe they are watching this. But most of you will be struggling with something in terms of making money online, struggling to make sales. And that's why this caught your eye. And that's why you're watching this video right now. So this leads to your responsibility as a salesperson. It took me a minute to read that there. But this leads to your responsibility as a salesperson. It's to simply help the prospect see the painful situation they're in. So when you're on the phone with a prospect or somebody that's interested in your messaging or your offer or your marketing, it's because they're in a painful situation. So your job is to understand that painful situation. It's like, well, why did you book the call? And they might say something like, hey, I just want more information. That's not true, right? There's a reason deeper than that, and it's your responsibility, as I said here, it's your responsibility as a salesperson to dive deeper and to figure out what it exactly is that they're booking the call for, what situation it is, their current situation that is painful that you might be able to help them with, right? Most people, a lot of people aren't consciously aware of their pain points until you help them realize them. So until you actually deep dive and figure out why they're booking, why they're on the call, what their situation is, they might not even realize that's why they booked in the first place. So you have to kind of drag it out of people sometimes. Every prospect has their current situation, which is normally pain, right? Like I just talked about in the last slide. I said pain 100 times. Every prospect has a current situation and a desired situation, and the reason they're speaking to you is because they hope, or they saw something in your messaging, in your marketing, or in your ads that resonated and made them believe that you might be able to help them alleviate that pain or fix the problem. So there's a cool diagram here of current situation, pain, desired situation. I put less pain because there's probably more, but that's the goal. Most people, like, let's think about it a little bit more now. Like, what's your desired situation? Is it to make 10K a month? Is it to be able to quit your job? Right? So your current situation is stuck in a 9 to 5. Well, you're stuck in a 9 to 5, but why do you want to quit that? Why is that such a bad thing? Well, Miles, I hate my job. My boss is annoying. I don't like being told when I can work, what to work. I also don't earn enough money. I don't like where I'm living right now, but I have to because that's where my job is, right? All of these things are diving deeper into current situation, pain points, and then your desired situation, which is, hey, I want to live in Bali on a beach, making 10K a month, working 2 hours a day, right? And that's less painful, obviously. Cool. And I've left the arrow in here, but let's just keep going. Your job is to create this gap that I'm going to show you right here. There's a spoiler, the arrow down at the middle. Your job is to create this gap. So it's to build the gap between the desired state and the desired state and the current state. So wherever they're currently at, it's to do what I just did. Well, tell me why it's so bad. What have you tried before? Why hasn't that worked? Like, why is this so important to you? Building that gap, figuring out why they're on the call, why they're interested in whatever it is you sell. It's your job to create this gap because consciously they might not even be thinking about it. This may be uncomfortable. This will be uncomfortable, actually. So asking these questions is an uncomfortable process as a salesperson, especially when I first did it. I remember when I first did it on like sales calls for like 2K a month retainers. It's like, well, what have you tried before? Oh, you've done this. Okay. And why didn't that work? And how has that impacted your life? Right? Asking these questions is tough. Like, how has that impacted other areas of your life? You told me at the start of this call you had a wife. Like, does she know about this? Like digging the pain a bit and building this gap sucks, but it's necessary to help the prospect realize the severity or the situation they're in. Because again, the brain operates in pain avoidance. They don't even want to think about the situation they're in. They saw an ad, they're like, oh, this is interesting, I'll book a call. But they don't want to deep dive and deeply think about the situation they've been in, how long they've been in it, and how it's having effects on their lives. But it's your role, your job as a salesperson to help them realize it. So, as I said, and my face is in the way, but their current situation is pain, their desired situation is less painful, and you want to help build this gap so you can bridge it with your offer and what you sell. But you want to build this gap for you to come in and show them how you can help them fix it. So that's the diagram there. We have more spoilers. But you want to present your offer as a solution to this gap, right? So I'll just go to the full slide. Yeah, you want to present what it is you sell as the solution, the bridge, whatever you want to call it, to this gap in situations that they're in and that they want to be in. So whether that's this free sales course, right? If I were to try and sell this, I would ask, well, what motivated you to book? Why is this appealing to you? Like, where are you currently working? Are you in a 9 to 5? Interesting. How long have you been in 9 to 5? How do you feel about that? Etc. Etc. Keep digging into the current situation. Obviously, we can get into this later in the sales call, kind of structure this course. But you want to understand the current situation and then desired situation, and then this is why we have this course. We'll walk you through step by step how to get into sales, and also how to find a role. So in the next 30 days, you can get good at this skill, but also find jobs that will allow you to make 5 to 10K a month, etc. Right? And that's obviously your offer filling this kind of void, this gap between their current situation and the desired situation. So on the call, you want to clearly define where they are and where they want to go. Right? And this can be done through I've just clicked twice, but this can be done in the discovery phase. So this can be done at the start of the call, which we'll come to later in the script. But you want to have an intelligent series of questioning that is scripted, and you go through and you understand completely, sometimes better than they do, their situation and why it's causing them pain. And using that discovery part of the call, using that intelligent line of questioning, you can then position yourself as the bridge to the gap, right? You don't sell, this is so important. You don't sell products or services, you sell desired outcomes, right? It's always that famous quote, which is you don't sell the plane ticket, you sell the destination. You sell Barbados, you sell California, that's on top of my mind at the moment. You don't sell the plane ticket to these places, so you don't sell the tools. It's like if my leg was broken, fully broken, I was in a terrible accident, and it's shattered into bits, I wouldn't care about how the surgeon, the doctor, whatever scalpel or whatever tools or whatever I would just care if it worked and my leg worked, right? So I wouldn't care about the methods. I wouldn't care about how they do it. I wouldn't care about how they do it. I'd care about if it gets done. So I would care more about, hey, we'll fix your leg. Cool. Do you have any proof? Yep. Nice. Like, you sell the dream outcomes. You don't sell just a product or a service. Yeah, that's super important stuff. Like, I would read that. I'd write that down. I'd read that every day. Like, you don't sell products, you don't sell services, you sell desired outcomes. All right, make it tangible. This is super important as well. When you're doing this discovery phase, when you're understanding people's current situation, the desired situation, you want to understand when they want to do this. And if you can get an answer like, yeah, I want to quit my 9 to 5 in the next 30 days, that's going to help you way more than just, hey, I want to quit my 9 to 5. So if you can make it tangible, not just for your sake, so when you present your offer, you can also make that tangible, but also just for their sake. So when they're thinking about it, they're like, yeah, dude, I'd love to quit my job in the next month. I'd love to quit my job in the next 3 months. I'd love to make 10K a month in the next month, right? So when you're going through this, it's really cool, really, it's really useful to understand when they want to do it. And by making it tangible and measurable, that will make life way easier in terms of understanding their current and desired situations as well. So that's the founding principle. That's the fundamental principle even of sales, which is, I actually need to skip over these slides now. There we go. I went back way too much. That's super important. And I would just give that some thought, right? In life, like anything you've ever purchased, it's probably because, especially in business, it's probably because you were in a painful situation and you wanted to get out of that. And you had some desired situation in mind, and by buying the thing, it helped you get closer or helped you achieve that desired situation. Once you understand that and you genuinely think about it, sales becomes so easy, because I'll get into this in a moment or later on in the course, but you're actually helping people by selling them, because if you have a genuinely good thing that they can use that helps them achieve their desired outcome, then it's almost like you're doing them a favor. You're helping them a lot by showing them how you can help and helping them get out of this current situation, which is full of pain for them. So that's pain. That's pain. That's the fundamental principle that you need to really understand. So watch back that part of the video twice. It's really powerful stuff. But now we're going to get into some common misconceptions. The first thing is that you need to be the right personality type. This is so not true. Like, some of the best salespeople are not naturally outgoing. I mean by this, extroverted, introverted. Oh, I'm an introvert, I can't sell. Success in general is about adapting and learning, not necessarily your personality type. So it's not true whatsoever. Selling is not like Wolf of Wall Street or any of these films. It's not just screaming down the phone, forcing people to buy. Selling can be so sophisticated if you just understand where people are at and where they want to go and show yourself as the bridge to that gap. You can do it with such a subtle tone. You do not have to be high pressure. Loads of the sales that I've made are not super high energy. I don't have endless energy, and I've done 12 calls a day for months. And by the end of those, you run out of energy. But if you just understand the basic principles, you can sell if you are super introverted or you're super extroverted. It doesn't matter. For sure, if there's some personality types that help you get better at sales, right? So if you are super outgoing, you are super social, then it may be an advantage. But sales is a science, so you can learn it. So success is about adapting and learning, not necessarily just what you're born with or your personality type. That's not true. And again, like I just said, great salespeople are born with it. Natural talent doesn't matter, right? It's volume negates luck. It's if you do 1,000 sales calls, you will be infinitely better than someone who's naturally talented who's done 10. So it may take longer to get good, but you can still get good. And by getting good, you make money. So if you want to make money, just do more, right? So great salespeople are born with it is a huge misconception. You do not have to be born with anything. I naturally wasn't great at sales when I first got started, but I think that's everybody. So yes, again, like I said, there will be some character traits, some personality traits that just naturally fit better into sales. But all of these things can be learned, and that's the whole objective of this course. So that's not true either. Sales is uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, this at the start, potentially, right? But it's all about your mindset when going into it. If you're selling something amazing, this is what I just mentioned a minute ago, but if you're selling something amazing that helps people and you're having a positive impact, then it completely takes the pressure away. Imagine if you were selling cancer treatment okay, that's a bit deep, but if you were selling cancer treatment to cancer patients, right? Hopefully you'd never have to sell that. But like, you get my point, right? It's an extreme example, but if you were selling that, you would be pumped up to sell it. If it 100% cured and it was just the best thing ever, like, you would be pumped up to sell that. So sales is uncomfortable if you're selling something terrible. Yeah. If you're selling internet, which actually was pretty good internet, right? Like I was, then it was super uncomfortable because you were like disrupting people's days. You were like knocking on their doors, right? And you were selling them something that maybe they did or maybe they didn't need. And if they did, then it still wasn't like a huge increase in life. What's the word? Quality of life. But like either way, it was still fine. So sales isn't comfortable doesn't have to be true. If you find, and I'll help you find the right things to sell, it's all about helping people who have problems, like I talked about in the last one. If they have a painful current situation and you can help them with that, sales becomes fun and it becomes rewarding because you're charging people for it, but that's life, that's business. So you're charging people to make their lives better. That's fine. So it's all about the mindset. Sales does not have to be uncomfortable. At the start, it may be uncomfortable for you just because of these hard conversations that you have to have. But if you're having hard conversations but helping people better their lives and you're seeing the impact of it, then it becomes comfortable very quickly. Finally, let's talk about mindset. You will never outperform what you believe you can do. This is so true. Your mindset will dedicate your actions. If you say yes to sales, say no to something else. It only takes one bad habit to ruin your chance of hitting your goals. Yeah, this is something I learned from Daniel G, who's a huge sales trainer. Like, if you don't believe you can become a millionaire with sales, you never will. If you don't believe you can hit 10K a month with sales, you never will. Because your mindset will dictate your actions, and your actions will dictate what you make, right? So, for example, if you don't believe you can make 10K a month with sales, you won't reinvest money into getting better at sales. Or you won't spend the weekends getting better or doing sales or taking more calls because you don't believe that you can do it. So it's all about your mindset when it comes to believing what you can do, right? And again, if your mindset is that, oh, I can't get rich with sales, it's just a stepping stone, or it's not something that I want to do long term, or it's not a skill that's valued, like, you will take actions such as going out on the weekend and getting drunk. Like, you won't care about getting better or performing or your routine. Like, I've wrote here, like, it only takes one bad habit to ruin your chance of hitting your goals, but it's so true. Like, if you just have one, if you don't go to bed on time, that could stop you from getting to 10K a month. Seriously. Because these habits have an impact on other areas of your life. So this is super like mindset stuff, and I'm not a big mindset guy. But one thing I've put here, which I think is super important, is if you say yes to sales, if you really want to make money online with this, say no to something that's a bad habit in your life right now. Right? And we can do this together. Like right now on this video, think of something that's not necessarily optimal that you're doing. Maybe you're going to bed at 1 a.m. every night, or you're going to bed at different times and you're waking up at different times. Maybe you go out every few weeks and get absolutely hammered, and then your Sundays are right off. Like, say no to something, say yes to sales, and your life will change. I can almost guarantee that. So yeah, you can never outperform what you believe you can do. And if you don't believe you can hit 10K a month with sales, then you'll never outperform that, because that's not something if you don't believe it, then you won't do it. Cool. That's the first one. Volume negates luck. I mentioned this in the last slide. Pushing through high volume early will get you past that being bad, terrible period faster. You might not even have a big being bad period. Like, I remember going door to door. Within the first week, I was super confident, super comfortable knocking on doors. Within the first day of doing these sales calls, well, maybe not the first day, maybe the first week, but I was doing 16 a day, 10 a day, like between 10 and 16 calls every single day. So the faster you can get out of this terrible period of being uncomfortable and being bad, the better. And the way you get out of that period is by doing more, right? So if you do more sales calls, you do volume, it negates luck. And if you do 1,000 sales calls, you can't be bad. You'll make money. Like, I guarantee you now, like, this is one thing I will guarantee. If you do 1,000 sales calls, you'll make money. Like, it's that guy who says, like, if you did 10,000 cold calls, you'd be rich. It's true. Because it's not necessarily the 10,000 cold calls, but it's the skills you develop, it's the connections you make by doing that. Like, if you do 10,000 cold calls, or like do 3,000 cold calls, get really good at it, and then get a better position at a different company, and you do sales calls, like, if you just do the work, you will get better and more opportunities will open up. Right? Caring about the prospect. This is a Hormozy quote. The person who cares most about the prospect wins the sale. Right? And I talked a lot about this already, but you want to get away from the mindset that you're just trying to make money from people by selling them, or by selling them your thing or whatever it is you sell, right? If you genuinely sell something good that helps people, like I do, then the calls don't become about making money. They become about helping the prospect. And if you can care more about the prospect than the prospect does themselves, you will win the sale. You will win, because you won't let someone if you, like, again, if I use the extreme example, maybe, like, if you had a treatment for someone's health condition that you knew worked for them, and it was going to cost them, and they had the budget to buy it, but they just wouldn't trust you, or they had some hesitancy, you would go to such extent to help that person see the value of it, what it is you sell, and I've spelled Hormozy wrong, just Hormuz. I've just seen that. But yeah, it's just a really interesting mental model to think about sales. Is you can even just start treating them as help calls. So just do not care. Disregard the need for a yes or a no. Just go into the call looking to diagnose their problem. And then if they are a good fit, and if it can really help them, then getting them on board and getting them sold is helping them. And that's really how I want you to go around thinking about these sales, or just sales in general. Your moral obligation. Again, I've touched on this, right? Your prospects are in pain. Don't dig the pain just to sell more deals. Dig the pain so you can better understand their situation, so you can see if your product or service is a good fit. Okay? So you don't just want to go around causing pain to all the people you speak with for no reason, right? You're doing it so you can understand their situation, right? You're not just going around being like, hey, well, how, like, this has been a problem in your life. Okay, well, how does your wife still love you? Like, you know what I mean? You don't want to just dig pain and make people feel terrible if you don't have a good thing. And that's why it's so important to sell something that's good and that actually helps people. And again, I'm going to talk about this later. But yeah, you want to dig the pain, build the gap so you can better understand their situation, to see if whatever it is that you sell is a good fit. And some people won't be a good fit. So you don't just want to sell them anyway, because One, it makes you feel terrible. But two, it also increases the chance that you just get refunds. I think I put this in the slide deck actually, right? Let's see if I've put it down here. Yeah, some people you speak to won't be a good fit, and that's fine. You should let them go. Like closing unqualified people leads to more refunds and a selling your soul mindset. And it's so true. Like if you want to have integrity with these. So if you get into sales and you find someone that's just not a good fit for this, like we would have it going door to door. When someone would have internet, I remember, I don't want to drop names, but I guess we'll do it. Like Virgin Internet in some areas was really good. And we would sell like BT Internet in the UK, which is British Telecom. And sometimes you do a reading and their internet was better than what you could give them. If you went on to somehow find like some weird thing to sell them on and then get them to change internet to a worse internet, I know I keep using this example, and then their life just gets worse. Like that's, you probably don't have to deal with the consequences of that, but morally you will lose a lot of self-respect and selling your soul. And that is how you get into like those spirals of like sales just being the worst thing. And it's just all you're all in it for the money. You can make a lot of money selling something that's valuable, that helps people get to a desired outcome without selling your soul. So let's go back to this point. This one right here. So if you're selling something good, you can help them. You have an obligation to get them to buy. I've talked about this a lot, so I'm going to move on. But it's not just about making money for you. If you have something that helps, you can fix their their current situation, then you are morally obligated to do that. So do it. Cool. Diagnose before you close. That's a really good line as well, right? Just diagnose their pain before you try and close them on your thing, right? If you went to, I'm going to keep using like the hospital, but if I went to the hospital or the doctor and I was like, yeah, I have this thing, and they just give you, they like a prescription we have over here in the UK, right? I'm sure that's everywhere as well. But it's like, hey, yeah, cool, take these tablets, take this medicine. It's like, okay, but you didn't ask me a single question. Like, you didn't dig into any of what my symptoms are. I walked through the door, you said hi, and then you said, oh, cool, just go take this tablet. Then you're gonna like not want to take that tablet, honestly. So if you diagnose the problems before you close to see if it's a good fit, sales becomes way easier. Nice. That's out of the way. We're done with the mindset, the fundamentals. I must have said pain. I must have said, if you sell something good, then you have an obligation. I must have said that like 100 times in that section, but it's really important. And I really wanted to just dig it in there. So we moved past that. We're now going to get to the fun stuff, which is sales, just sales calls, how to actually sell. And this is a script kind of format. I'm going to give you step by step how to structure your sales calls so you can actually make money on the first call without following up 100 times. So here's what we're going to cover. First of all, a framework for one call closes, right? It's so important that we have a framework to close people in one call, not spending unnecessary time letting people go and then following up 3 or 4 times, having more calls, right? It's so much more efficient if you can have a 30-minute, 45-minute, hour-long even call where you close within that one call. Makes the sales system very efficient. Second of all, it's the script, right? This is exactly what you're here for. It's how to sell, right? So we're going to give you a framework for one call closes, how to kind of optimize for that, and then the script and the actual words and the things we say on the call. So let's get into it. Cool. Framework for one call close. So let's start by, again, we're optimizing for a one call close, right? We don't necessarily want a demo call, if people know what these are, so like a quick 15-minute qualification call, and then we're jumping on a sales call. Like, we can do a lot of the qualification way before we get on the phone with someone. It's going to save us a lot of time. So pre-qualifying questions are so important. Asking them, depending on, I have other videos on this channel, but I'm definitely going to talk about it. I can talk about it now. Like, you can do varying levels of friction before a call. So for example, if you're just getting started and you don't really know your audience and you have no proof of concept, you can do low friction sales calls, which is basically kind of like if I were to do a call to action right now and say, hey, if you want more help with sales training, book a call. And I will give you a free 30-minute session on how you can improve your sales skills, right? So I could say that CTA in this video right now,
And I would get every single one of you, okay, not every single one of you booking, but I would get all types of customers, all type of people booking these calls. But only a few of you, of only a certain type or only a certain avatar of person, would be able to invest, right? Say if I just say, hey, everyone book a call and I'll give you a free piece of value. So a lot of these times there's two calls, right? There's a value call and there's a sales call, like a very salesy call. So depending on what you sell, normally you're going to have a more salesy call. But there are scenarios where you just want to give pure value on these calls and then present a paid kind of pitch at the end. And you will get way more calls, and I'll talk about this towards the end of the video when looking at getting sales roles. Like, it's way easier to do a value call, give value for 20 minutes, and then be like, hey, by the way, like, this is this something you're serious about? Like, I'd love to show you kind of our paid option if you're interested. So I'm going to talk about sales calls, but we'll talk about value calls towards the end. This pre-qualifying questions will help you guys out so much. Having the correct qualification criteria before you ever speak to someone, it's a game changer. It's something that's been a game changer for me recently as I've been doing more sales calls, where everyone I'm speaking to, I learn a lot of information about before I even speak to them. So I can even show you. We can just go out of the oh, it's not the right one. Here we go. Go out of it here, and I can go to course.com/success. Oh no, /book. And we can take a look at some qualifying questions that help us as a company narrow down who we speak to, and we only speak to serious buyers, right? And again, you don't always be doing this, but this is a really good example. So one thing we're getting is their email, their phone number, right? We're asking them some situation questions. So situation questions are great to understand where they're currently at. So in our case, it's like, hey, do you have an online course? Do you have a YouTube channel? If yes, if no, etc. Tell me more. Do you have a business? Is this a full-time thing? What are you struggling with right now? So again, these are classed as situation qualifying questions. Now, if anyone's just putting like this and then like just cancel the call, like you don't want to take that call. So you can get a lot of good information from these calls. And then we have qualifying questions, right? So if they fit the criteria of a potential buyer. And how do we measure that? Well, we're asking current monthly income. How confident are they about hiring us? And then do you have the capital to invest in our program? This is very high friction. So our calls are super qualified and we close at way over 50% because by the time we speak to someone, right, if they say like, hey, I'm like 50% confident, but I don't really have the money right now and I'm making 0 to 5K a month, like we don't take this call. Like this call is not a qualified buyer. So by having this kind of criteria, these pre-qualifying questions, you can narrow down the avatar, narrow down the audience that you speak to, and you're going to get way more quality calls. And even if you're not selling something yourself, if you're doing this with a company, then you can help a company have these pre-qualifying questions to cut down on unqualified prospects that you speak to. I can kind of pull this up. To cut down on unqualified time wasters, people that aren't really qualified to buy your thing. And that's saving both of you time, right? If you're showing someone a program that's really going to help them, you dig their pain, you really get into how you can help, and this is the solution for them, and then they physically can't buy it, you're doing them more harm than good almost. Like if they physically don't have 5K or 2K or 1K to invest, you're just showing them what they can't have, right? So I like to think of it like that. Sometimes taking these calls is good to just get market feedback, but in general, if you want to optimize for one call closes, I would have qualifying questions that ask them situation questions, but also some monetary, right? Some financial questions to see if they qualify to be a potential buyer. Doesn't mean you have to say, hey, are you 100% sold? Are you investing in this? We're just selling you. We're just going to sell you on this call. Like you can just ask them more about their situation, what their current monthly income is, etc. And then if they're a good fit, then you can obviously take the call. Nice. It's super possible to close in one call. Sales does not require 100 follow-ups or sending proposals. Sending proposals is the worst. Obviously, in some cases, you have to do it in some businesses, right? But at least take a deposit or at least take something on the call because it feels nice as a salesperson to be like, hey, yeah, I'll send you the proposal. And they've always said, yeah. But trust me, sending a proposal and having to chase down a prospect who is like on the fence or not even on the fence, but it says yes, but then they don't respond for 2 days, like it's chaos. So getting them closed on the call is very possible. I have done hundreds, probably 500 plus one call closes in under 30 minutes. And more recently for higher tickets, still closed them in under 45 minutes on one call. You just need to be better at sales. You do not need to do 100 follow-ups or send a proposal. Right, so it's super important that we focus on closing for, yeah, like I said here, I've closed hundreds of calls in 30 minutes. It does not require you to. Sales is not a lengthy process if you do it correctly. And I'm going to show you how to do it correctly in this section, right? The script is going to show you some tricks to close in one call. Yeah. So I'm going to get to this in a moment. If you have some questions or you're like, but what if it's not possible? What if they need to speak to their wife? I'm going to show you methods that help you at least close 99% of your calls. Obviously not 99%, but the people who would say yes, close them in one call rather than setting up a follow-up call. First, we're going to talk about some quick call settings. Okay, this is important. Let's just fly through this super quick. But when you get onto a call with someone, we're going to assume you're doing it over Zoom or like over Google Meet or like online conferencing, right? So first of all, use Zoom with a note taker, right? Record your calls. I talked about this at the start. Just use Zoom and just use a note taker or record the calls. Simple, right? I don't have to talk more about that. Have your camera on. I see there's some really good salespeople who say have your camera off. I don't necessarily agree with this. I agree with a lot of what they say. You don't need the camera on to build trust. That's true. You don't need the camera on to close deals. I get where they're coming from in terms of not having the camera on, and it's all about what you say, not how you look. But there's no downside. I like the downside that people give are, hey, will you focus on yourself rather than the prospect? But I've just never found that to be true. And even if that's the case when you get started, it's pretty easy to train yourself out of it. I'm always focused on the prospect. Having your camera on normally means they put their camera on. A lot of the time, I've tried this, by the way, I've done the no camera thing. If you don't have your camera on, if they have theirs on when you start the call, they turn theirs off. And I think the trade-off of not being able to see their reactions, their emotions, their body language is more detrimental to your chances of closing than the extra attention that you would gain from not looking at yourself, because it's very easy to just not look at yourself, right? And there's even a setting probably when you're sharing screen that you don't even, I think it is true that you don't even see yourself anyway. I know one of my friends' computers has that, and I'm like, whenever I look at their screen, I'm like, yo, how do you do this without seeing yourself? So I think seeing yourself is also good, because then you can see how you're talking and how your facial expressions. You can use actions. You can lean back. This is huge with objections. Like, I'm going to get into this in the objection part, but when someone gives you an objection, visibly like relaxing, takes down the pressure of the situation of an objection. Like, there's more benefit in my experience. Of course, you can close probably millions of dollars worth of deals just by having your camera off. And I know the main person who pushes this, they've closed millions of dollars worth of deals. But in my experience, I think that seeing reactions, seeing their camera, seeing the prospect you're talking to and having your camera on is way more beneficial than not. That's my experience. Cool. Be dressed appropriately, only take calls in clean, quiet environments. This should also be a prerequisite for your calls, for the prospect. So when you book a call, when they book a call with you or with your company or whatever you do, they should be told, hey, make sure you're joining on a computer. Make sure you, when possible, make sure you're in a quiet location. Make sure you're not traveling. Because some of the worst sales calls I've ever taken are when someone's on their phone, driving around, like trying to talk to you while not crashing into people. Or traveling, or they're just like their internet's lagging, coming off and on. Like, it's the worst experience. And honestly, whenever I have a call now where someone's just on their phone, it just says iPhone, they haven't got the camera on, they're not really listening, I just end the call. I just say, hey, look, as per we said in the video, we asked you to be in a quiet location, and like, if you don't have 30 minutes, I don't say this, but if they don't have 30 minutes to like sit down and actually talk through a problem, then they're not going to buy anyway. It's not going to be a serious prospect anyway. So you can word it however you want, but you should obviously practice what you preach, be dressed appropriately, take calls in a clean, quiet environment. And that way you just have a system. It's just very, you take the calls in the same place every day where possible, and you can get into a routine with it. And again, it's way easier if you're just taking calls in an office, in a quiet place. It just creates less chaos. That's the easiest way to put it. I'm not going to ramble on about it too much. Nice. The prospect must buy into you before they buy into what you sell. You represent what you sell, it says that. It's so true. Like, again, someone I take a lot of inspiration from, Daniel G. He says, if someone comes to him, doesn't close a deal, it's like, did they buy into you? Like, did they have a good time on the call with you? Not necessarily a good time, but did they have rapport with you? Did they like you? Did they buy into you? It's way easier to get someone to buy into you if you're dressed properly, you're in a good location, you're not on the go. Again, you can definitely take calls on the go. And I think I gave an example earlier in this course where a guy on our team literally used to take calls when he was traveling. So it's possible. I would just say, if you can, be in a location where you can demand respect and come across as an authority and come across as a put together person. That way, most of the time, that's going to have a positive impact on your prospects, and they're more likely to buy into you. So that's some call settings. So now for the script, right? The fun bit we've all been waiting for. We're going to break it down. The first part of a call is the intro, then discovery, then pitch, then the close, then the objection handling. Right, so we're going to cover all of this. And I've got a diagram there on the right side. My head's in the way a little bit, but I don't even want to move it, so we're just going to leave it. The intro is just establishing rapport, getting into the conversation. Discovery, the most important part of the call. I've talked about discovery a lot in the pain section, right, of this course so far, where it's like you're going to dig the pain, you're going to build the gap, and you're going to understand where they're really at and then where they want to go. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover the pitch, so how to actually pitch your product or your service or whatever it is you sell. The close is where you get them across the line. Hey, let's get you set up. Let's get you started. You go in for the sale. That is not the end of the call 99% of the time, right? Sometimes you'll get through the pitch. You'll say, hey, this is the thing. What are your thoughts? Blah, blah, blah. You go through the back and forth. And then it's like, hey, let's get you going. You ready to sign up? And they'll just say yes. And then it's like, cool. But a lot of the time, there's going to be some hesitancy. There's going to be some pushback on their end. And you're going to have to handle a few concerns or objections. And then you go back in for the close. So I guess this could say close again after number 5. It could be number 6. It could be close again. But this is the structure of any sales call: intro, discovery, pitch, close, objection handle, and then close. Okay, intro. Let's get into it. So building rapport. Okay, I'm not going to be able to in this course make you charismatic or make you a fun person or someone who's likable within the first 30 seconds. Like it's not possible for me to teach that. But there are some tricks. Obviously, like some just ground rules is that you want to have energy. You want to be excited to be on the call. You want to smile, right, when they join the call. You can also do some of these things. So building rapport, you don't want to be too rapport. You don't want to start like a super big conversation about their kids or their family or get into a 10-minute. I've done this, by the way, like so many times, way too much rapport, and just try to become their friend. But you can kind of break the ice, and that's the whole goal of this intro section, is just to break the ice and get into the call. So straight out the gate, you can leverage their background. You can leverage your calling location. You can also refer to the answers they left on the pre-qualifying questions that I just showed you guys, right? So what do I mean by leverage their background? Well, I have an example of a call I did the other day, which was just jumping on. I jumped on. I was like, hey, how's it going? And he was like, yeah, it's all good. Like, nice to see you. And then he was like, dude, by the way, like, before we get into this, I've always wanted those black paneling. So he had some black paneling, soundproof paneling behind him. I've always wanted some black paneling. Like, is this new? Like, is this like, what do you recommend it? Like, it looks awesome, by the way. And he instantly got excited. He was like, bro, dude, this is really like this. It's so good. It's a lifesaver. I got it off Amazon. It was like $20. And that's a great way. So if there's something obvious in the background, obviously you haven't got much luck with me as it's just black. But although people bring that up as well, although there's a bit too much light on it right now, so you can kind of see that it's a sheep. But who cares? Yeah, when I'm normally on calls, it just looks like it's the void. Like it's just completely blacked out. But you can leverage their background. You can leverage, hey, where are you calling from? And not just, hey, where are you calling from? But you could also be like, hey, I saw you're calling from Australia, or hey, I saw you're calling from Taiwan, or hey, I saw you calling from America. Isn't it like 8 a.m. over there right now? So you can kind of like take the answers they gave you to the qualifying questions, which is obviously their phone number. You can check out the country code, like you can use your brain here. And you can be like, right, you're calling from the States, you're calling from the UK. If they're calling from the UK, it's a wrap. Like I can build so much rapport with someone that's also from the UK. I'm from the UK, if you can't tell. So that's something that you can leverage in the intro to the call. It's just being like, hey, saw you calling from here. Isn't it early over there? It's like 8 p.m. over there, so I appreciate you taking this late. Leveraging their background, something that's in the background that's obvious is like, is that a cat? Dude, sick. Or if you're stuck and there's nothing, be like, hey man, like, awesome, appreciate you jumping on. I saw that you were looking to do X, or I saw that you were doing this, and you can jump right into it. Or I saw that you, like I said, I think the main ones are calling from or using the background. They're my favorite go-tos. And then the second part of the intro is I'm gonna come to in a second, but this doesn't need to take long. Be genuine. You don't need to get into a 10-minute conversation, and you actually just want to genuinely care. Like, it helps if you genuinely are a nice person as well, right? So if you can just be nice, build some rapport organically. You don't even need to think about it. Once you get good at this, you can just jump on and be like, dude, mate, background's sick. I love it. Is that a real plant, by the way? Like, it looks so real. I used to have a plant in here, and I always used to say like something like that. Like, I tried having a plant, mate, but it just would just die, and then it would look terrible on the camera. So I just got one of these, and I just pull out like my fake plant or whatever. So there's so much you can do, but be genuine. Doesn't need to take too long. You want to keep this like 2 to 3 minutes max, and if you can build a bit of rapport, get a bit of a laugh, then happy days. Right now, this is the second part. Right, so you want to keep control of the conversation. If the minute you start letting the prospect be like, oh, dude, like, I have a question for you, by the way. Like, you don't want that. You want to keep control, maintain control of the conversation, and set the frame of the call. So once you've kind of spent the first 2 to 3 minutes mentioning something, saying, hey, where you're calling from, leveraging the rapport, leveraging their background or whatever it is, by building out some rapport with them initially, then you want to be like, right, cool, John, let's just jump straight into it because we only have a quick 30 minutes. We only have a quick 45 minutes here, and I want to get down to it. But normally how these calls go is I ask you a few questions. I can figure out where you're at. So I just want to understand a little bit more about your current situation. I'd also love to know what the goal is behind booking this call. And then obviously I'm going to show you how we can help and if we're a good fit. And then at the end, you can make a decision. I love this, by the way. Like, this is a cute little trick that in the intro, in the setting the frame section of this call, you can kind of set the expectation that they're going to make a decision at the end of the call. And it's hard to measure if this has too much of an effect. I personally think it's great because you can say, like I just said, build some rapport. You can get into it. You can be like, hey, these are how these calls normally go. We do this, we do this, we do this. And then at the end, if it's a good fit for you, you can decide if it's a yes or a no. Sound good? Sound fair? And they're like, yeah, cool, love it. And then you've set that expectation that at the end of the call, they're going to give you a yes or a no. And a yes or a no is always better than a maybe. I would love a no over a maybe because then you don't have to worry about the call. Like, you don't have to worry about the prospect and you can just go on to your next call. Right? So that's a bonus tip there. Add that at the end of setting the frame, but setting the frame, just to clarify that, you just want to explain how the call is going to go. You want to maintain control of the conversation. And then after you've kind of set the frame, you can get straight into discovery. And discovery, in my opinion, is the most important part of the call. This is where we're going to be able to leverage the fundamental principle of sales, which is pain. And we're going to understand why they've booked and where they want to go. So this is key. Like, if you take anything from the script in this section of the video, it's discovery is key because it's like you're gathering ammo, right? You're gathering information about the prospect that you can then use back to close them at the end of the sale. So it's like, hey, John, you told me you were going to do this, or you want to do this, and this is why I think it's a good fit, right? There's a lot we can get into, a lot of examples, but like, let's just stick to this now, right? So the primary motive for booking is the first thing you want to understand, and it's just clearly understanding their current situation. I've already talked about this and why it's so important. Understanding, hey, why did you book? What is your motivation? I'm going to get to the questions we can use in a moment, but it's understanding their current situation and why they're here. Understanding their desired situation. So think back to earlier in this presentation, in this masterclass, where I showed you the two balls, right? The red one and the green one, which was current situation, desired situation. So to build the gap between the two, you need to understand the two. The first is obviously, hey, where are you at? How long has this been a problem? What have you tried before? Why didn't that work? And kind of dig in the pain a little bit. How is this having some effect on your life? Right? We can get into all of these questions. And then understanding clearly where they're at and why they're there. And then understanding clearly where their goal is, what their goal is, how long away that goal is, making it tangible, right? So we're kind of gaining these two key bits of information, which is the whole point of the discovery phase. Indirectly causing pain. So again, you want to build this gap. So right now they're probably not, again, they're not thinking deeply about the desired situation, about how attainable it is, or how far away they are from that. So you do really want to dig this a little bit, again, without being too much, but you want to ask some difficult questions, and I'll get into them in a minute, some of the examples, but just understanding how long has this been a problem? How is this affecting your life? How is this affecting your business? What is it stopping you from achieving in other areas? Like, is this like, how long has this been the bottleneck, etc., right? And then getting the prospect to admit they need help. So this is the final part of discovery, where it's like, okay, well, why come to us in the first place? Like, why isn't this something that you can solve by yourself? That's a hard question to ask. But getting them to admit that they need some help, or they're open to getting help, because right now, and like, you don't have to make it awkward. It's like, dude, like, this makes a lot of sense. This makes sense why you've booked. So you're struggling with XYZ. Is this something you've tried to fix? Yes, it is. And why didn't that work? Okay, cool. So you tried this with someone else. It didn't work. Is this not something that you thought about trying to tackle by yourself? No, it's not. Why not? And then you can say, they'll tell you why they need help with this, right? I don't have the time to learn marketing. I don't have the time to learn this. I don't have the time to hire a team. I just need a done for you solution. I just need a whatever, XYZ, right? So this is the key part of the discovery phase, is establishing the primary motive, establishing why they're there, where they want to go, digging the pain and building that gap. Because remember, you're going to fill that gap later down the line with the offer and with the pitch. And then finally, just getting them to admit that they do need help with this. And yeah, just getting them to admit that they do need help with this. That's the main thing. So they can't just go away and be like, oh, I'm just going to figure this out by myself. Cool. Here's some examples, by the way, of some questions that I would use in a script. There's a lot that you can use, but I'm just pulling like 8 to 10 questions here that I've used, that convert, that work, and that you can write down and put into a script. And then you can obviously add to this script once you've kind of had some calls and you've tested some different questions. So let's go through them. What was the main motivation for booking the call? Yep, so that's a super simple one. And it's a really easy one to get into. So, dude, like, I just love to understand a little bit more why you booked on and what was it to kind of motivate you to book onto this call today. Great way to get into conversation. Some people are going to give you like an essay in this section, right? And again, I don't think I've talked about this already. I can't find my notebook, but I would have a notebook, and it's actually super key. I definitely should have put this in the fundamentals. Like, have a notebook. I have a full notebook of sales notes from sales calls, and it's going to be a relic one day when I'm older, right? But it's a full notebook of just, hey, new call, boom, and then writing down the answers to these questions, because by writing it down, you can flick back through it, and also just kind of flicking through a notebook. Like, I think this is a psychological thing, but like, it just gives you some authority, and it makes you seem like you're paying attention, and you're right. Okay, cool. You're jotting it down, and then you're flicking back through it. And it's like, oh, you just going through this, that you told me that this was a problem, or you have like a notebook, a physical thing in front of you. I think that's actually, like, these little things really do start to add up. So just to clarify there, I would have a notebook and I'd write down the answers to these questions. And again, getting into, hey, what's the main motivation for booking this call? Is some people will give you a super long answer and you can write down a bunch. Some people will just say, I want more information. Okay? So I'm not going to add the sub questions here, but it's like, you obviously want to dig deep in all of this. So it's like, hey, you wanted more information. Dude, totally makes sense. Like, why were you looking specifically at our program? Or why are you looking specifically at this thing, this service? And you can just keep digging, hey, why? Just keep asking why, is my point. Obviously, you can word it better, but if someone's giving you short answers, you want to dig deep, you want to keep digging, and you want to keep asking why that's the case. So why are you looking for more information? what's currently tell me more about your current situation then, right? You can flip it a little bit. So instead of saying, hey, tell me more about, or why are you looking for more information? It's like, okay, cool, you're looking for more information. Well, tell me more about where you're currently at in your business right now. You've left on this screen here, or you left on this application that you're currently struggling with XYZ. So let's dig into that a little bit. And then you can just start taking these notes. So dig deep. Don't settle for 1, 2 word, 1 sentence answers. If someone, and there will be the prospects who just give you way too much information as well. Cool. What's your goal? Make it tangible. Yeah, figuring out a goal and a timeline. I talked about this already, so I'm going to keep this brief. But just understanding, hey, where do you want to get to? How long do you want to get? In how long? How long do you want it to take you to get there? Right? Because if someone wants to hit a crazy goal in 30 days, then there's a reason for that. So why is that the goal? Right? Why? Okay. Why is 30 days? Like, why not a year? Oh, just because like we're really struggling right now to do this. I need to pay off this. Like, this is all really good stuff, right? Because you can use this later on. So you're gathering ammo to fire back at them in the close. What's the main thing from stopping you? What's the main thing stopping you from hitting X? So desired outcome. What's the main thing right now, John, that you think's really getting in the way between you and scaling this thing to $1 million a month? Right? Great question. And then you get the main concern. And again, you're going to leverage this in the pitch. So when you do the pitch later on, you can highlight the things that are going to help them with the biggest things that are stopping them from hitting their desired outcome. You're not just going to blab and tell them everything about the program and everything about all the cool results people have. It's like you can tailor your pitch and you can tailor your presentation based on their pain points, but you're only going to understand their pain points when you ask them in the discovery phase. That's why it's so important. Hey, have you tried to fix this problem before? Like, is this the first time you've had this problem? Or how long has this been an issue? Oh, it's been an issue for 2 years. Okay, well, you must have tried something. Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, interesting. Like, why now? Why is now the right time then? Right? You get my point. Like, these are all questions. Like, just dig deep a little bit. Like, really try and figure out why they're on the call and why they are trying to fix the problem right now. There's always more to learn. So, hey, have you tried to fix this problem before? And then we've also got, why didn't that work? So if it did work, or they wouldn't be on the call, right? So if they say how it did, it's like, okay, well, why have you booked on? Why are you still looking for a solution? Are you trying to do X, Y, Z? Like, is there a bigger goal here? It might not always be that it just completely didn't work, but obviously they're looking for more. So understand if they tried something before, why didn't that work? This is great in what I do and what you guys might end up doing, right? If you're selling like a program and it's like, yeah, I tried this program before. The problem was like, oh, it's like, hey, I tried this problem before, it didn't really work. And if you just said, yeah, cool, next question in your script, then you never understand why the program didn't work. So when you're like, Miles, makes sense. So you tried this program, you said it wasn't the best, it didn't really work. Like, can you tell me a little bit more on that? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Like, what specifically was it missing that you were looking for? Or what specifically was it about the program that didn't really align with what you wanted to do or didn't really work for you? And then it's like, this is what I hear all the time. Yeah, well, I joined the program, the information was good, but like, I'm the type of guy who needs, when I have a question, I really like to speak to someone. So the problem with the program was that they didn't really have any support. And it's like, boom, bingo. Support is the big thing that they miss in the last program. So, as you can play along at home, what is it that when you're going through the pitch, are we going to highlight in our thing that we're going to really double down on in the pitch? We're going to highlight our support and how we can help and how we're there when you need help with questions, right? So again, gathering the ammo to use back later, right? Why is now the time to fix this? I mentioned this one a minute ago, but hey, why is now the right time? Like, you said this has been a problem for 6 months, but have you tried it? You said you haven't tried anything else. So like, why is now really the time that you decide to pull a trigger with this and start speaking to people? And then they're probably going to tell you a reason about why now it's getting serious and they need to fix this. Or they're going to tell you that they only have had the time now. So it's like, oh, so you have you have issues with time, like you're really busy. Interesting. Because if someone is super busy, that can be a good thing for you. It's like, that's why they should join the program, or that's why they should join the Done For You service. Because you just told me earlier, Janice, Alex, whatever, you just told me you're so busy, right? You're so busy. And that's why I think this is perfect for you, because we take everything and do it all for you. We take it off your plate. Again, you wouldn't know this if you didn't ask the questions. How is having X issue affecting other areas of your life? This is a tough one to ask as well, but I think it's great. because again, you're digging the pain a little bit. So it's like, yeah, how is like being stuck at 3K a month with the business kind of affecting your life? Like, where are you living right now? Like, you can ask a bunch of different questions. Like, how is this actually having effect on your life? It's not great. Like, I can't do X, Y, I can't do Z, I can't do this. And again, you're just gathering information to kind of help. This one isn't not necessarily to use this information later, but it's helping the prospect see the severity of the situation they're in. Because even if your business sucks and you're making a small amount a month, people get complacent and people just get stuck in their situations and they don't really understand that like it has been a problem for a while. So you need to help them see that. And I talked about this earlier. So you need to help them really dig the pain of their situation and show them how you can help them get to the desired situation. How would fixing X impact other areas of your life? Right? So if they told you that they're struggling with this because they can't go and pick their kids up because they're working all the time, and they can't spend time with their family, or they can't do XYZ. Okay, so if Jane, if we were to fix this problem for you in the next like 30 days or 3 months, like how would that affect, these other areas of your life, like your family time and like your location, your time and location, where you're living, etc. Like how would this have a good effect? How would this have an effect in general? And again, now they're going to start painting the desired outcome in their head. So like it's maybe clear for you because you do like 1,000,000 calls, right? If you do like 100 calls or whatever a month or a week or whatever, then it's so obvious for you that you kind of see patterns and see these current situations, desired situations. But some of these people never talk about this or never think about this. So just even if it seems obvious that if they make an extra 5K a month, they'll be way happier in their personal life, you need to help them see that sometimes. So just asking them the simple question, how would fixing X impact some of these other areas of your life, right? That's another great question. So that's the discovery section, right? I just went back there again. But the discovery section, I'm just going to double down on this one more time. It's the most important part. When you're compiling your script, really think about discovery questions. Try different ones out, right? And you see if you can use them in the pitch. So you're getting information. There's like 3 main things that you're doing with this section of the script, right? You're gathering information to use later. You're helping them see the pain of their current situation, but you're also helping them see the potential of their desired situation. Okay, so we've dug deep and we understand where they're at and where they want to go. Now it's time for you to present whatever it is that you sell that's going to help them bridge that gap. Okay, so let's get into the pitch. The first thing is assuring them that you can help, right? This might not even make sense right now, but let me try and explain it to you. Obviously, before you get into the pitch and before you kind of show or share screen or show your program, you want to, it's called like a statement of confidence. So it's like 100%, I appreciate you answering those questions. Look, I'll be honest, I'm 100% certain we can help you with this, or like we can 100% help with this. Are you cool if I share my screen? I'm going to pull up how we can help, right? So just a quick little tip here is the confidence statement or the assurance that you can actually help their situation. So it's just one liner. Hey, love that. I appreciate you answering these questions. Look, we can definitely help you with this problem. Cool if I share my screen, like I can just pull up the program or I can pull up the services really quick and just walk you through it. Does that sound good? Super simple. Another thing you can do is label prospects. So you can kind of tie this in together with the confidence statement, but labeling someone as a serious person. So like, for example, I'm just going to use what we do. So we have a free community and we have a paid community. So for the free community, it's like, hey, yeah, so look, you're obviously in the free group, you checked out our free stuff, and that's great. And that's the whole point of that, is that it's kind of be a lead magnet for us and we can kind of build some trust with people. But honestly, for like the serious people, you see the way I say that? Honestly, for like the serious people and people who really want to commit to this, and to be honest with you, Janet, that sounds like you, because you've just told me XYZ, right? I don't have to get into that, but like you've just told me this. So like for the serious people, we do have this paid option. We do have this paid program. And like, are you cool if I share my screen really quick? I just think we can help you a lot. So you're tying in, like you're labeling the prospect as a serious person, but you're also assuring them that you can help them, right? So you're kind of giving them a label of being, I like the serious person label. I think that's the best one. But yeah, you're showing them that you can help and you have a solution, you have a bridge to their gap, right? Cool. Stating expertise using social proof. Okay, this may seem obvious, but you obviously want to state your expertise, right? So you obviously want to say, hey, look, yeah, we've helped X amount of people achieve X outcome. You want to use some social proof, like 100%. So the goal is 10K a month. Like I'm sure you saw before the call, we put the testimonials on there. We've had like 20 people in the last X amount of time. Like use whatever social proof you have, but you obviously want to. This is super obvious stuff, but like I'm just putting it in here just in case, right? It's like you want to come across as the authority figure. You want to come across as a program or a service that actually can fix their problem. So you want to state your expertise. You want to say, hey, yeah, I can totally help you. We've got this. We've had like 300 people in the last 24 days go through this and achieve X outcome as well. So like let me pull up my screen. Let me show you. So just stating your expertise, using some social proof. Put the social proof before the call if you want, but also have some key testimonials ready. Here's what like we do on our sales team is we have like a tab open which always has like 3 testimonials. So when you get into this thing, you can kind of show them some social proof and some examples of people that have achieved the same sort of outcome as they have. And then once you get really good at this, you'll be able just to like, depending on their like desired situation or current situation, you can actually pull up specific testimonials and specific elements of social proof for similar people, but that gets like pretty deep. So just having like a separate tab open on your computer where you can pull up, some people that you've helped, is a great way to kind of state your expertise and use some social proof there as well. Pitching the offer vaguely and not over pitching. So I don't mean like being super vague with this. You obviously don't have to be like, yeah, we help people get to 10K a month. That's it. Like you obviously want to pitch relevant things, but not over pitching is super key. And you can easily talk yourself out of a sale. So if you have like this service, like a done for you service, and you say, let's talk like agency now real quick. Like, hey, yeah, so we do Google reviews on your thing, we do your website, we do your SEO, and then we do your we have like an AI autoresponder come in, and like when someone goes on your website, they can speak to an AI and it's really freaking good. And it's like, yo, Miles, I just want to fix my website, and that's why I'm on the call. Like you can way over pitch. Like even with what I do in terms of communities and courses, it's like if I start rambling on about, hey, yeah, if you stay in the community for 6 months, you get access to this bonus. If you stay for 12 months, you get a second bonus. And if you stay for like whatever, like people are just like, dude, I don't care. Like I want to know how you can get me to 10K a month ASAP with school, right? So that's kind of something that's really important is you've just gathered all the information. You've just done the hard work in the pitching, in the discovery. So you've just got all the ammo. So use it, but only tailored to where they're currently at. So you want to keep it relevant. You want to pitch what's necessary. And it also means you keep things in the tank. So if you still have little aspects of your offer that you're not kind of pitching straight away, when they throw objections, you can kind of use those as well. But if you give everything all at once and you have nothing, if they come at you with a no. So be vague with the offer, be vague with the pitch. And again, it's not about the plane ticket, it's about the destination. So you're selling the outcome, you're not selling the plane ticket. Like with the doctor example, you're not selling the scalpel and the types of, what's it called? Sedation, is that the right word? Where they put you to sleep. You're not selling the stuff that no one really cares about. You're selling the dream outcome, which is, hey, I'm gonna fix your leg, from an example earlier in the course, right? So yeah, you want to pitch the outcome. You want to use your expertise, show your expertise, use social proof, but pitch the outcome, not everything in the program, not everything in whatever it is you sell, right? So be vague with that. And then looping back. This is what I'm talking about. So loop back. So it's like, hey, yeah, cool. Well, look, I just want to touch on this because Janet, you told me that, in your last program, you had some issues with support. And like, I really just want to like double down and show you this because that's something we take really seriously. So and you can just pitch the support, right? So you use what they told you about their previous situations, stuff they've tried in the past, issues they currently got, to double down on pitching the correct aspects of your whatever it is you sell. That's super cool. That's super that's really valuable stuff. And then you don't just go on and ramble about all the other benefits because you can always use it later. So loop the loop the pitch and loop what you're showing them back to the questions or the answers to the questions that you asked in the discovery phase. And don't over pitch. That's a really big takeaway from this section. Right? Assume the close. Assume the close throughout the pitch. So get some yeses. This is also really important. So throughout the pitch, you want to kind of assume the close. So assume they're going to say yes. Right? So like, hey, do you see yourself using this? Or not even do you see yourself using this, but like, for example, with what I do, I say, oh yeah, and we have these Q&A calls and they're daily. We have them at 4 p.m. UK time. We have them at 6 p.m. Like, does this work for you, by the way? Like, you'll be able to jump on this one, right? So like, I do a call every Wednesday. You'll be able to jump on Wednesdays. Like, I'd love to see you on there. So you're just kind of like assuming the close. That's the best way to say it. So you're just, as you're going through the program, it's like, this is going to be valuable to you, right? This is does this make sense? This you'll see yourself using this. Like all of these yeses that you get throughout the pitch makes it way easier to go in for the yes at the end. I think I've explained that hopefully pretty well. But that's mainly pitching. So it's like looping back everything to discovery, not over pitching, showing yourself as an authority and that you can help this person or help this prospect by leveraging your case studies as well and having a separate tab open. And then as you're going through the pitch, just kind of assuming that they're gonna buy. So it's like, hey, yeah, we have this thing, like we have these calls, these Q&As, like would you be available at these times? Or like do you see yourself jumping on these? Like all of these kind of questions, but also like, hey, would you be able to make this time? That's more of an assuming. That's probably a bit better. Like, hey, would you be able to jump on at this time? Like, I'd love to see you on there. All of these kind of assumptions are going to help you get the yes at the end as well. So that's the pitch. Flying through it. The close, right? Selling themselves back. This is really powerful. This actually probably was one of the biggest things for me that increased my close percentage. Because after the pitch, and I kind of got the yeses, so I'd go through, I'd do a really good job of pitching. Hey, do you see yourself using this? Or like, does this make sense? Like, is this exactly this is what you were looking for? Is this the thing you were looking for? They're like, yes, 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 this is perfect. Right? And just kind of checking with them throughout the pitch that this is exactly what they wanted and exactly what they're looking for. And do you have any concerns or questions? And getting the yeses throughout the pitch. So I'd be so excited. I'd be like, right, cool, let's get you set up. And they'd be like, yo, well, obviously they wouldn't say that, but they would be like, whoa, 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 let's just take a breath here. So something that I changed, and it was definitely one of the biggest needle movers, like I said, in terms of close rate, is just taking a minute after the pitch and then sitting back and being like, okay, cool. So which aspect of this is going to be the most beneficial for you going forward? Again, kind of assuming the close there, right? So yeah, which aspect of this is for you going to be the most useful, as you go forward? Which aspect of this is going to be the thing that you think is going to help you get to 10K a month or get to dream outcome? And then it gives them, you can just sit back and it gives them an opportunity for them to sell themselves back to you. So it's like, hey, Miles, yeah, I think it's this. I think the calls are going to be great. I think the website design, it looks perfect. I think so. It gives them that opportunity for them to kind of convince themselves of why this program's perfect for them, or why this, whatever it is you sell, is perfect for them. And then once they've kind of sold themselves back, you can use some other closes as well. So I'm going to get into some examples of closes in just a second. But this is another thing that maybe, I know I just said that thing before was the number one needle mover. This is the number one needle mover for sure over a long period of time that we've used to get people to buy on the call, right? Because if you don't have, and it's very possible to close people without giving them a reason to buy on the call. But this has been crazy. All right, so I know I just said that the selling themselves back was the biggest needle mover, but just honestly, in terms of all sales I've ever done, this scarcity and urgency tactic has been, I would not have closed anywhere near the amount of deals if we didn't do this. Now, look, I'm not saying this is the only way to close deals on one call, like one call closes, but this, if you apply this correctly, will increase the likelihood that you close more deals in one call than anything else that I teach you in this entire course. And it's just giving them a reason to join on the call, right? I'm going to talk about this a little bit at length, but scarcity and urgency are the two main things that you can use. So, for example, I can give you some examples. You can say, hey, if you join on this call right now, we give you access to this thing, and there's only 30 spots available. So that's something we used to use back in the day, where it's like, hey, we have 20 spots available for this thing, and if you were to join me right now on this call, you get access to it, right? So that's some scarcity, that's some urgency. Also, we're doing something where you could be like, hey, and we're doing this thing that we only give to people that join on these calls, where if you were to, get signed up right now, you would get access to this, and it runs out in 3 days. But that's probably not as good because you're giving them 3 days. But you are saying if they only join on this call. So using scarcity, using urgency, by giving them a bonus that they can only unlock by buying on the call will drastically increase the amount of deals that you can close, but also it will help you with objections. So if somebody needs to speak to their wife, and I'll come to this later, if you have some scarcity and urgency for them to make the decision on the call and tie that together with a guarantee where if they don't like it or if they speak to their wife and she says, no, you're an idiot, John, you can't do this, like, what have you done? I'm divorcing you. Then they'll be able to refund. So that the kind of risk reversal's lower as well. You can kind of tie all these three things together, scarcity, urgency, and guarantee, to close pretty much every deal if you do it correctly. It's really crazy stuff. Like, I had a close rate of 70% at our peak when we were doing this stuff for our program. And you can just be honest. Like, you may be thinking right now, Miles, that's a scummy tactic. That's a super salesy tactic. You said sales isn't about being scummy. Like, I'm turning off the video. Don't turn off the video yet. I'm going to explain. So you can leverage these tactics, but tell the truth. So be like, look, John, I'll be honest with you. This is going to come across super salesy. But, and again, this is why rapport is so important, just to have like actual good connections with people you speak to. It's like, John, this is going to come across super salesy, but we do this bonus where if you were to jump in with me right now and I could set you up, or if you were to sign on with me right now and we could set you up, you would get access to this thing. So that can be like more material, more access, more support, a cheaper price, right? Incentive-based pricing. So look, we do a discount if people jump in on these calls. I know it's a bit salesy, but, and here's the key, and it's like a concession. You're like giving people, you're telling them the truth, right? Where it's like, look, I know it's a bit salesy, but the reason I do this, and I can pull up my calendar for you real quick, I take about 15 of these calls a day, or I take 10 of these calls a day. And look, John, if I'm honest with you, if I had to follow up with everyone that has to speak to their wife or business partner or just needs to sleep on it, then I would lose my mind. And normally that gets a laugh, right? So if it's like, hey, look, I know this is a bit salesy, but we do this bonus. And look, the reason that we do this is because, like, if we have to follow up with everyone that's like, yeah, just let me sleep on it, I would lose my mind. So we have this 7-day guarantee where if you go away and you speak to your wife and she wants to punch you in the mouth, then you can get your money back, no questions asked. But it also just makes it easier on our end if we could just sign you up, get you onboarded right now while I'm speaking to you. And then if there's any issues later, we can resolve them. Seem fair? And they, like, I've had like 2 out of like 1,000 people be like, no, that's a bit meh. But the amount of sales that I've closed by doing that and kind of doing that concession, it's actually scary for me to think about, because I think it's one of the biggest things I've learned in sales is, and this is how you can close deals in one call closes, right? So if you get them interested, you pitch them your stuff, they've sold themselves back to you, they're 100% sold, and then you're like, look, I love that you love it. I agree that it's going to be perfect for you to achieve this outcome. The crazy thing is that you've booked this call, right? So I'm glad you did, because we're doing this thing right now where if you join right now, you get access to this bonus. I know it's a bit salesy, and I know I have to set you up right now, so it's a bit salesy, but the reason we do this is because I take 10 of these a day, and like, if I were to follow up with every single person that told me they want to think about it or need to speak to their partner, like, I would lose my mind. So we have that 7-day risk-free guarantee in place. If we can get you set up, we can get you going, and if there is any issues, you can just let me know. No big deal. Seem fair? Sound fair? Like, that is a crazy close, right? And we'll talk about this in the objection section, but you can keep looping back to that, and you can keep kind of mentioning that scarcity and that urgency tactics. Things you can give them, I already talked about it, but you can give them more access, more support, a bonus call, access to a private group. Depending on what you sell, you can find something to give away. And if it's one thing you learn from this, it's to do that in the closing section, giving them a scarcity and an urgency tactic. And then when you're pitching it, you kind of just break the ice by telling them why you do it. Nice. Here's more examples of closes. I used this one like 3 hours ago and got a close. It's a really good way to kind of just gauge where people are at, and then they don't feel like they're being closed. So it's like, hey, look, Alex, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to be honest with me here. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, let's go, let's sign up right now. 1 being, hey, Miles, I hate you. Let me get off this call. Where are you in terms of this program being for you, right? Is it a 10? Is it a 7? Is it a 5? Is it a 1? Like, where are you at? Right? And that kind of gets them to let their guard down and just be honest. Most people are pretty honest with this stuff, which is great. And if they say 7, then it means that you can kind of be like, okay, well, what's holding you back from it? Leads very well into an objection overcome, right? Or not even objection overcome, but rooting out the real problem. So, and I'm using the word 7, or the letter 7, but the number 7, because the guy I was on a phone call with earlier said 7, and then I ended up closing him. So that's just something else. Like this close is really powerful. I've definitely stolen it from someone, but yeah, haven't we all stolen everything from someone? That's how we learn. So yeah, 1 to 10 close, it's killer. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at with this? 10 being let's go, 1 being I'm gonna punch you, and then you can use that to kind of find out where they're at. If it's a 10, it's like cool, let's get you signed up. If it's a 9, it's like, dude, how can we make it a 10? Well, something I used earlier, it's just popped into my mind, is I didn't mention the scarcity and the urgency tactic until I did the 1 to 10 close. And then when he said 7, and I was like, how can we make it a 10? He had an objection. We handled it. He's like, I'm at an 8.5 right now. And then I said, look, I might be able to make it a 10 for you. The thing is, we're doing this thing right now where if you join on the call, back into the scarcity and urgency. And then he was like, oh, that sounds really helpful. Let's do it. So leveraging the 1 to 10 close, leveraging the scarcity and urgency, this stuff is killer. Like, you'll be able to close so many deals just by letting the prospect sell themselves back after your pitch, right? Giving them hey, give me a number on 1 to 10. Just be honest with me. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings, right? 1 to 10. And then once they give you a number, you can use, hey, let's make this a 10. We're doing this thing right now. How does that sound? Killer stuff. Once you had the yeses, you can use lines such as let's rock and roll, let's ready to get started. Or if you're doing like something where you need their credit card, you can say, hey, like, is this going to be Visa, MasterCard? Like, let me know, right? These are assuming the closes, ready to rock and roll, ready to get started. These are just simple one-liners that I think have worked for me and for others. And then the Visa or MasterCard one is pretty good as well, where it's like, hey, cool, let's get you signed up. Like, Visa, are you on Visa or are you on MasterCard? I mean, it's like, Visa. Cool, let's do it. That's really good stuff. Like, I would watch that back. Right? Selling themselves back, giving them a reason to buy, asking them on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a really good close that I love. And then obviously just, hey, let's rock and roll. Let's get you signed up. I mean, obviously, it's not all plain sailing. That's not the end of the sales call. 9 times out of 10, you're going to face an objection. So let's get into that. So objections are probably the hardest part of sales. Definitely for most people. Definitely for me when I was just getting started. I always struggled to get over any objections, and honestly, like, I would just give up before even trying to handle it, right? So if someone said no, I'd be like, hey, dude, like, please go think about it. Like, be my guest. So it was the hardest part for me to overcome. And in that, I learned a lot. So I'm going to cover objections. And this is what we're going to cover in the video. The fundamentals behind objections. So basically, what are objections, right? Just some fundamentals around just how objections come up, and then some mindset things to think about objections as well. Some practical examples. So I'm going to give you some actual overcomes for you to start dealing with objections. So if someone does say, hey, Miles, I need to think about it, or hey, whatever, I need to think about John, I need to think about it, then we're going to cover that and how I would deal with it. And finally, what to do if you can't overcome an objection. Shockingly, there will be objections that you can't overcome. I know. Even with the best sales trainers on the world, the best sales people in the world, still won't be able to deal with every prospect, every objection. So we're going to look at what to do if you can't overcome an objection, just as a last resort as well. So let's get into it. Objection fundamentals. Most objections are smokescreens. So what do I mean by a smokescreen? Well, they're not actually real. So if somebody says to you, hey, I need to think about it, 99% of the time, that's not true, right? Again, let's do the example. If you had a serious illness and someone had a cure for it, you wouldn't have anything to think about. If I had a Ferrari, and this is such a common example, but if I had a Ferrari and I said, hey, it's $100, you wouldn't need to think about that, right? You would snap my fingers off. Or you do what you can to find $100. The same with the price objection. Price objections are never really price objections. They're value objections, right? So if we look at, again, the Ferrari example. If I said, here's a Ferrari for 10K, a new one, you'd find 10K, or you do your best to find 10K. So most objections are smokescreens. Most of the time, there's some underlying objection, right? I've put here, most objections are vehicles of doubt rather than genuine concerns, right? They have some doubt somewhere. They have something that they're not too sure about with your whatever you're selling, and they don't want to tell you because you're nice, or because they feel uncomfortable telling you the real truth, right? So they give you a smokescreen. I need to think about it. I don't make decisions on this call. I need to sleep on it. All of these things, they're not real objections. So one of the key things for you to understand about objections is when they say no, it is not the end of the sale. It does not mean no. Like no doesn't always mean no in this case, in objections only, right? So with sales. So yes, let's get into that. So the sale truly begins at the first objections. First objection. Don't be afraid. This is so true. If you give up, and I was one of these people, by the way, so don't feel bad. If you give up when someone says no the first time, you are just a presentation, a slide deck, a VSL, a video sales letter, because you're not actually making the sale. You're talking to someone, you're presenting them with the offer, and then you're letting them go. So what else could do that? A video. Okay, they can talk to them, but a video could present the offer, and then they can go away and they can think. So you're just a VSL, you're just a video, you're just a presentation, right? So you should expect objections. You should not be afraid of objections. You should welcome objections, right? I love objections because it's an opportunity for me to present the offer in a better way, and it's actually quite fun to overcome objections, especially when they're just, again, you're selling something that helps people, so you have an obligation to kind of help people overcome this objection. Exactly same examples of earlier. Exactly the same examples. If you had something that's truly amazing, and like if you had a lottery ticket that had the numbers guaranteed on it, and you were trying to sell it to someone for $10, and they had an objection, so trying to sell it to your mum for $10, and she had an objection of like, oh, I just need to think about it, you would do anything to overcome that objection. So you want to think about selling your product like this. So the sale truly begins at the first objection. Do not be afraid of objections. Welcome them with open arms, and you'll be fine. We're going to cover it here. Objection prevention is way better than objection overcomes. Yep. Right, you can weave objection prevention into your pitch. And like I said, through the pitch, you want to kind of be getting these yeses. You want to kind of be getting these, sounds good, makes sense, love it, I would see myself using this, right? So, for example, in the example I gave earlier with the pitch, it's like, hey, with these Q&A calls, with these calls in our program, would you be able to turn up to these? Like, are the time zones all good? Like, the time zones are fine? Because that, again, prevents an objection later down the line. Or, like, preventing objections by kind of rooting out concerns in the pitch or just before the close, mainly in the pitch, that's going to be the best way to overcome them, is by never have them come up in the first place. So another example, again, with what I do, but could be anything that you guys sell. Hey, so a lot of people say to me, hey, look, you have a group of like 1,000 people. How do you do the Q&A calls? Like, they're super busy. so I just want to make it super clear while I'm showing you these calls that like there's only like 20, 25 people on these calls and everyone gets a chance to ask a question. I can guarantee you that. And this call is recorded. So like, you know, you can come after me, right? You can always make a joke about it. But so you can kind of like prevent common objections. That's huge as well. Like, oh, most people say there's this. That's why I just want to make it super clear that this isn't a concern, right? So if you start seeing common objections come up with people that they're like, oh, I don't really like the structure of this, or I don't like how it works, like you can kind of root those objection prevention techniques out, but you can only do that from getting the objections in the first place. So if you can't prevent an objection, it's fine, you can overcome it. But if you can start weaving in prevention to the objections, then you can do that in the pitch, and that's going to save you a lot of time later down the line. Cool. Moral obligation. I think I've said this like 5 times in this course already, but again, like let's just double down on it. If what you're selling is good, if you sell your mum the lottery ticket that has the winning numbers, if you were trying to, you know, sell treatment to an ill patient, again, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to sell that. But say you were in this hypothetical one, what lengths would you go to help them overcome the objection? A lot, right? So you want to sell something like that that's helpful, and you want to treat the objection exactly the same. So that's the fundamentals. Most objections are just smoke screens. They're just vehicles of doubt, right? They're not real. They're not like they're just trying to get off the call, or they're just trying to like have some time to think about it. So you want to find out the real objection. A lot of the objection handling process is getting, and I'm going to come to this in the examples, but a lot of the objection handling process is just rooting out the real objection. And I have some strategies to root out the real objection. If they tell you the real objection, then you can handle it, right? But it also helps if it never comes up in the first place. So if you can start preventing that objection, if you start to see a lot of the same objection, like, hey, like I've been in a program like this before, the Q&A calls were so busy, I never got to ask a question. If people are saying that to you, then you can start weaving it into your pitch and you can start editing your script so that when you are presenting your solution or whatever it is you sell, you can weave that in so it never comes up in the first place. I actually just posted a sales call breakdown on my channel. Feel free to go check it out. It's on my channel. It's probably the first one I posted. I think it is, yeah. And you can see that's a perfect example. She had no objections. But like I talked about in the breakdown, I rooted out some prevention. I did some prevention, sorry, to weave out objections early. So when I got round to being like, hey, let's rock and roll, she was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Right? And it could have very easily been a case where she had these 3 or 4 objections at the end, which still I would have been able to overcome, but maybe you guys wouldn't, or maybe some of you wouldn't. We'd struggle, right? So getting it out early is the best way to do it as well. And if what you sell is good, then you have an obligation to kind of overcome the objection. Cool. Let's talk about tactical things. Let's talk about actually overcoming these objections. So if someone's just told you, they need to think about it. Like all of these objections, we're going to cover that now. So let's get into it. First prerequisite is that rapport makes handling objections way easier. So if you're having a good conversation, you're having a laugh, you're having a good conversation with someone and they trust you and it's just, you know what I mean? You have rapport with them, then handling objections, it becomes so much easier. Mainly because you can just be real with them, right? So if you have rapport, you can kind of just be like, dude, what's holding you back? Like, just man to man, or just let's be real. Like, I think this is perfect for you. You obviously have some concerns, which is fine, but I'm just trying to understand. Like, tell me what's kind of the main thing holding you back. And again, a lot of this, you can kind of break the objection handle into 2. You want to root out the real objection, and then you want to handle it. Like, if someone tells you I need to think about it, and you're like, hey, what do you need to think about? It's like, well, they don't really need to think about it. So they're not going to be able to answer that. And it just creates tension, right? Because the objection is that they don't think they can jump on the Q&A call because they're going to be so busy. So that's the real objection. But you didn't even try and get it out of them. You just like say, hey, what do you need to think about, bro? That's not how, so we break it down. We break it down into 2 sections. We find the real objection, and then we handle the real objection, right? This is a Hormozy quote. The best closers are the people who can ask for the sale the most times while staying in rapport. Obviously, if you ask for the sale 100 times, or like even 5 times, like if you say, someone says, no, I'm going to think about it. It's like, dude, let's just get you signed up. Let's get you going. I'm good, man. I'm going to think about it. okay, let's just sign you up and like get you in and get you set up for the next steps, bro. Like you'd instantly get pissed off, right? If someone's just kind of relentlessly asking for the sale. So the best people, because the best people who close the most, best closers, ask for the sale the most times, because there's a direct correlation between asking for the sale and someone saying yes, right? Someone can only say yes to the sale if they get asked for it, and by asking more, you increase the likelihood that they can say, well, it's increase the likelihood they do say yes, but you also just increase the chances of them saying yes by asking more times. But you can't just ask 100 times. You can't just ask 3 or 4 times back to back. You have to stay in rapport. So you want to kind of be like, you want to kind of like come in with different angles, right? So you want to like take the objection, you want to understand it, you want to be like, cool, no worries. Do give a little bit of a overcome, give a little bit of a separate kind of like value add or pitch or anything, whatever it is, the overcome itself, and then ask again. And then maybe they have another objection, and then you kind of want to do the same thing, like, yeah, no worries, cool, makes sense, like handle that, and then go back in and ask again. So the best people, the best closers are the people who can ask for the sale the most times while staying in rapport. Because once you lose rapport, you lose the sale. That's obvious, right? People can get really annoyed really quickly if you keep asking them to buy your stuff. So staying in rapport but asking 100 times is the way forward, right? With objections, you want to kind of seek to understand. So you don't want to be combative. You want to be like curious, almost like interesting. Why are you thinking like that? Like, interesting. I didn't really think of it like that. You want to kind of be curious, like even like tilt your head. Like I'm doing another benefit to having your camera on is like be like, interesting. So you can kind of use these body language like expressions to demonstrate your curiosity. Because then you got them questioning like, oh, this guy's obviously confused or curious as to why I'm thinking like this. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking like this. So you want to come across as just a guy or just a girl of someone who is curious, like interesting, who wants to understand why they're thinking this objection or why they're thinking like this, right? So you want to just understand. As soon as someone says an objection, be like, cool, makes sense. I didn't think of it like that. Or, interesting. Like, that makes sense. Like, you can just be curious, understand, never be combative, like, never just go straight back in and be like, hey, this is why you should do it, right? This is a lot of money for me, Miles. That's why you should do it, because you've got no money. No, you don't want to do that. It's not a lot of money for you. Of course. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Like, it's a lot of money, it's a big investment, and then you can go in and you can handle it. So seek to understand, maintain a curious tone, tilt your head if you want to do that as well. This is my go-to. This is my go-to with pretty much all objections, especially people saying I need to think about it or I need to run this over with my wife. This one works really well in combination with some scarcity urgency closing tactics. So I'm going to outline this push-pull, objection overcome, and then we can get into it. But just before we get into that, like, again, one of the easiest ways to handle an objection is just to be in really good rapport with a prospect. So you can say, John, I get it, completely understand. I just like, just be honest with me here. What's the main concern for you? Because I think this is perfect. Like, I think this is a great fit for you. What's the main thing holding you back? Like, if you can have that conversation because you're having a good like conversation with the person, they can just tell you the real objection. You don't have to kind of do this push-pull strategy. But say, for example, you just don't feel comfortable doing that, having that conversation, or like the call's not going that well, you can leverage what I'm about to tell you right now, which is the push-pull overcome. So what do I mean by push-pull? Well, we're going to push them away first by kind of letting them off the hook. And then we're going to pull them back in and close them. So let's say someone says to me, hey, Miles, I need to think about it. This is great, but I just need some time. The first step you want to do is just understand. So like I said a second ago, you just want to be like, cool, sit back. Yeah, of course, John, you need to think about it. I know I went really fast over everything. What I can do is I can send you over an email with everything I just talked about. Sound good? And then they're like, oh, sick. This guy's going to send me an email. Like, awesome. So, yeah, send me an email. Sounds great. Because they always say, yeah, sounds great. Because then they think that you're just letting them off. So you're pushing them away. Hey, I'll send you an email. Don't stress it. And then you say, well, what specifically was it that you kind of was still a little bit unsure of, or still had some concerns about, that I can really double down and like show you in the email? So when you do go away and you think about it, or you do go away and you show this to your wife, you guys can have a think, or you can have a think, you can sleep on it, and then let me know. Is that like, which was it? What was it specifically? Was it the price? Was it the program? Was it the call times? Whatever it is that you sell. What specifically did you want? Like, you had some concerns about that you wanted me to kind of wanted to think over, right? So you're kind of asking them for the real objection now, and they're way more likely to tell you the real objection because you just told them you're going to send them an email. So you're pushing them away. Hey, let me go send you an email. Sounds good. No big deal. John, tell me more about what the real concern is. Like, tell me what you wanted to really go over, and then I can pop it in the email for you. Yeah, Miles, makes sense. It was just really the this, blah, 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 right? They'll tell you the real objection. Now, obviously, you don't just send them an email and let them go. We're going to pull them back in. Mate, John, my bad. I know I flew over this super quickly. That's completely on me. I didn't show you. Here's what I can do. I can pull up my screen. I'll just touch on that super quick before you go, right? So now you're going to handle the objection. So maybe it's X, maybe it's Y, maybe it's price, maybe whatever it is, right? You can handle the objection. You've let them go. You've pulled them back in. You've got the real objection now. So again, this is part one, which is finding out the real objection. Then it's handling it, which second part of handling objections is just like showing them why their thinking is wrong. So if it's like, hey, yeah, I just had a concern about the calls. I just wasn't sure that I could jump on them because they're like every program I've been a part of in the past, they're super busy and I just don't get value out of it. John, my bad. Like, I should have covered this. I know we only have 30 minutes here. Let me just pull up my screen really quick. I can just explain it to you before you go. Then you pull it up and you say, hey, yeah. So, look, everyone, like, a lot of people have this concern, but right now we've got like 20 people on per call. So I can guarantee you everyone's questions get answered, blah, blah, blah. So you handle the objection like by just telling them about the product or the service that you do. But by part one, it's by pushing them away, pulling them back in, you're getting the real objection from them. And then you obviously go back in for the close. So that's just going back to the closing section, which was like, yeah, so is that all clear now? That all makes sense? Oh, yeah, dude, that makes so much more sense. Thanks for clearing that up. Awesome. Like I said, John, like, I know I mentioned this earlier, but we have this thing right now where we're doing this thing where if you join with me on the call, you get access to this bonus. And if if you're not happy, you can get a refund in the next 7 days. So, like, all that's clear now. So I just want to say, like, if we could get you set up, you still have that 7-day period if you don't like it. Right, so you're handling the objections, and then you're leveraging the closing tactics with scarcity and urgency to help them make the decision. And if they have an objection again, you just go back in again, and you're like, cool, and you handle that. So that's push-pull. Hopefully that makes sense. I think I've explained that hopefully decently well. But you're just letting them go with an email that you don't send them, or you're just trying to get the real objection out of them, and then you pull them back in for the close. Finally, the 3A framework, the AAA framework. This is a Hormozy one that I've stolen and I use from time to time. I'll break it down super quickly. But if you really want a deep dive on this, I would just type in AAA framework Hormozy. But it's the 3A's, which are acknowledge, like I said, understand, acknowledge, same thing. Like, acknowledge the objection. Yeah, cool, makes sense. Associate. So you're going to associate the objection with a concern of someone who's similar to them, who joined the program and ended up getting results, or joined the thing and ended up getting results, right? So it's like, yeah, cool. Makes sense, no worries. That's a complete fair concern to have. Can I just tell you a story, or can I just tell you about Jane? Like, Jane was on a call with me. It's just top of mind. She was on a call with me yesterday. And she a couple of weeks back, and she reminds me a lot of what you were just talking about, because she also had the same concern, where it was a lot of money, or it was she doesn't know if she has the time to go through this, and she joined. I can actually pull her up. Like, she joined, she managed to jump in, and she was able to do XYZ, and now she's achieving this. And I just thought, like, it's a really good concern to have, because it shows that you're like serious about this and you want to give it all your time. But Jane was exactly the same. She was able to join. She was able to do blah, blah, blah. Again, you can fill in the blanks in this, right? You're associating the concern with a positive thing from a similar client that ended up buying. So you're attaching that kind of concern to a buying behavior. So yeah, she ended up buying, she got sick results, blah, blah, blah. And then you go in for the third ask. So you ask again, right? So it's the AAA framework. I'm going to probably leave it at that. Again, go watch the Hormozy video if you really want to deep dive on it. But you basically acknowledge the objection. You associate that objection with someone who's a buyer, right? So then in their mind, they're like, oh, that person's a buyer. They got results. They're just like me. And then you ask again for the sale. Nice. There, the objection overcomes the tactical kind of breakdown of that. My favorite ones, honestly, are just being in rapport with people. So you can just be like, hey, man, what's the main concern? Like, I think this is perfect for you. So what's really holding you back? Always seek to understand. If in doubt, use the push-pull. And finally, all AAA. AAA is really good as well. But finally, always go back in for the close. Always ask after handling these objections. But then you utilize the scarcity, the urgency closing techniques to get them across the line. And if they're not happy, they get a refund, right? So you're using the scarcity, urgency, and the guarantee, right? So the risk reversal, but also the scarcity and urgency to get access to this bonus if they join with you right now. Awesome. You can't overcome objection, right? It happens. There's a few times that this will happen and you really just can't overcome it, probably more times than not. So one way to deal with this to see if they're a serious person is to collect a refundable deposit. So it's like, I just need to speak to my wife. It's a courtesy. That's a big one, right? It's like we do everything together. So she's not available right now. I can't even call her up. She's at work. She's at the hospital, whatever. So like, let me just go away and just run it by her and I'll be in touch tomorrow, right? That's an example. So one way to deal with that is like, no worries, mate. I completely respect that. What we can do, so you make sure you get access to this bonus, right? Because again, the bonus is the big thing. We can collect a refundable deposit where, if your wife, you turn to your wife, and I'm sure this isn't going to happen, and she's like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard of. What are you thinking, John? Then I can just refund you it. But it just obviously helps us on our end lock you in with that bonus. So it's just a quick deposit of X, and then if anything changes, we can refund that. So you can collect a deposit. That's one way of dealing with it. Offer alternative payment options. So I don't know if this is really if you can't overcome an objection, but it's a way of dealing with like a price objection. And it's more actually pre-call. So payment plans is another way to phrase this. So you can just frame whatever it is you're selling. Say you're selling a $3,000 thing and you're like, you have a concession where it's like, hey, what if I just got you in for $1,000 a month? Right? So this is probably an objection overcome rather than a can't overcome an objection, but it still works here. And the cool thing about this is that you can structure your offer with this in mind, right? So, for example, if is whatever you charge is, say you charge $1,000 a month, we'll just reverse engineer it. Say you charge $1,000 a month, and you want to close more deals. Well, something you can do is when you get to the pitch and the price, you can say, hey, it's $3,000 up front for 3 months. And you can go back and forth. You can handle the objection. You can, go back and, like I said, go back and forth and kind of fight this. But then they're just like, no, I just can't do it right now. No worries, John. What I can do, like, would it help you if we could split this up into 3? And it seems like you're doing them a favor. So by front loading the investment, and by the way, this is going to be great because you can get like some people who just say yes and pay $3,000 up front. You can structure your offer such that you have these concessions which make it seem like the prospect's getting a really good deal. So say you sell a $100 a month program, you say, hey, you can buy him for the year for $1,200 or $1,000 and you save 2 months. And they're like, no, I just can't afford it. No worries. Look, what if I just got you in? Like, what if I just got you in? Don't tell the other students. What if I just got you in for $100 a month and we can get you rock and rolling straight away? How does that sound? You will sell way more people on the monthly than if you were to sell it annually. But you'd also sell way more people on the monthly than if you didn't even have the annual as an option, because it seems like you're doing them a favor and you're helping them out by giving them this concession, right? So when structuring your offers, and if you're talking to if you're in part of a company, have a option, even if you don't plan to use it too much, of like $3,000 or upfront, and then use a concession at the end of the call to get people across the line for the thing that you wanted anyway, which was 1,000 a month or 100 a month. So that's one way to deal with that. And finally, BAM FAM, which I love. If you're just completely like, you cannot handle this objection, they just won't buy, then you can book a meeting from a meeting. So BAM, FAM. Always have a meeting booked. Always have a follow-up meeting booked. If they need to speak to their wife, book in another time, collect a refundable deposit. If they need to speak to their business partner, do the same, right? Book in another meeting. Another way to do that is like, say, hey, look, we have this bonus if you join on the call, and that's like a real thing. Like, we obviously have that, but look, if we booked in another call, even if it's just a quick 10 minutes, we could technically give you that bonus again. So like, how about we just book in a call for like 2 days from now? You go away, you speak to your wife, you both can jump on the call, we can talk over any concerns, and then if you were moving forward, we can access that bonus for you. How does that sound? So that's a great way to do it. Is just make sure you book a meeting from a meeting if you really can't handle the objection. Concessions are great in terms of pricing, and if you're a great way as well is just to collect a refundable deposit to see if people are serious or if they're just kind of pulling your leg and they're not really looking to buy, right? And that's another way to gauge if the objection is real. Nice. Okay, off the call SOP. This is simply off the call standard operating procedure. In this section, it's going to be super quick. I'm just going to cover basically increasing show up rate. So how to increase show up rate when you're not on calls. How to manage your sales pipeline, right? So for follow-ups, for people who book calls, what to do to manage your pipeline and increase the chances that you close people when you speak to them. And a pull-up strategy, which is a strategy of something you can do when you're not on sales calls to increase your overall sales volume and also increase the chances of closing people, right? So I'm going to keep this one super quick and fly through it. The first thing is increasing show-up rate. So pre-qualification is important to avoid time wasters. We've already covered this, right, in an earlier section. But again, pre-qualifying people is really important to eliminate people who would just waste your time on the call, who haven't got purchasing power or who aren't really interested in buying anything. They just book to find, just to kind of waste time and just see what people are selling, right? So you can pre-qualify people pretty quickly by asking situation questions and then qualification questions as well. And I talked about this earlier in the course. Built-in calendar reminders. Most scheduling softwares like Calendly, Go High Level, any of the other main ones will have built-in calendar reminders, right, that you can leverage. So what do I mean by calendar reminder? Well, say I have a call with you in 3 days. I'll get a reminder sent out to me 48 hours before saying, hey, make sure you show up. Obviously, you say more, right? Hey, looking forward to our call. If you have any questions, let me know, blah, blah, blah. Then 24 hours before, say, hey, just reminding you of our call in 24 hours. And then a call like an hour before saying, hey, still looking forward to our call. Looking forward to it. See you in an hour. So these built-in calendar reminders are automations. So you don't have to do anything. When someone books onto a calendar, using Calendly, we'll use the example, you can set these up so they automatically go out to people at different periods before the call. So they're really good ways, which takes no effort from you to increase your show up rate by reminding people of the call. That's just a simple tip there. Another way to do this, and it's way more personal and it takes way more time, but this stuff is killer and it 100% increases your show up rate. Okay, not increases it by 100%, but it definitely increases your show up rate, is by personally reaching out, because people who've been on sales calls before know the Calendly reminders. Like, it's so obvious. So using stuff like, you have their phone number for when you collect their phone number for the call. So just, hey, the day before you have like 5 or 6 calls, you jump on your phone for 30 minutes and you do a voice note on WhatsApp, or you do a Loom video, which is actually the software I'm filming this on, or you do a call, or you literally call them and say, hey, look, it's just Miles calling. We have a call tomorrow. I'm super stoked. Just checking we're still good for that time. And if you had any questions, right? And this also serves as a way for you to qualify even further if you need to. So if you wanted to call them up and ask them a few more questions, feel free to do that. But to keep it simple, you can just send a super quick voice note, Loom, or call, which will show them you're a real person. Obviously, not an automation, but also just have that personalized touch that you're going to be on the call. You're looking forward to speaking to them. Make sure they show up, basically. right? Oh, lost it. And then calendar availability. The number one, there was like a study on this. There was number one needle mover in terms of show up percentage was having more calendar spots available. So the more available you can be for calendar slots for people to book into your calendar to speak with you, the more people will close, not just show up. Because people book for, well, show up is mainly the benefit, right? But people will show up on calls more that they book when they book for an optimal time slot, right? So if they're booking and there's only one slot available, so they'll just book it, but then they're not really free, then they have to pick the kids up, and they knew that anyway, but they thought I'll just book it anyway and I'll make it work, and then they don't make it work. That's what leads to show up percentages dropping. And obviously if show up percentage drops, close percentage drops overall, right? Because you have less people that you speak to. So yes, the calendar availability is the number one needle mover. So if you can be available a lot of the time, and I've also added at the end there, selling on weekends is super important. So if you can sell on weekends, because that also correlates with people being available. A lot of people you'll speak to are in 9 to 5s, are working 7 days a week, or not 7 days a week, 5 days a week, sorry, and then they have the weekends off. So if you're selling and you can let people book on the weekends, like don't have this kind of conceived notion that, oh, it's the weekend, no one's going to buy from me. People love to spend their money on the weekends, so make sure it's with you, right? That's the key thing. So having calendar availability is very key, but also selling on the weekends is key as well. So they're my main tips for increasing show up rate: is have a big calendar availability if you can, sell on the Saturday, Sunday, reach out to people who book onto your calendar with voice notes and call them if you want to, qualify beforehand, and have those built-in calendar reminders that do go out, which is something that costs you basically nothing, and will just increase your show up rate for sure, so you can speak to more people. Pipeline management. So what do I mean by a pipeline? A pipeline is simply a way to manage what stage of a sale somebody is in. So if somebody's like booked a call with you, then they're in one stage. If somebody's had a call with you, the first one, but they didn't close, that's another stage. If somebody needs following up with, that's a third stage. If somebody's not qualified, that's a fourth stage. If somebody closed, that's a fifth stage if they've already paid you. So these are like different stages in a pipeline, and I'm going to talk about pipeline management really quickly. So using a CRM, that's super simple. So just using like a customer relationship management CRM system, like Close, like HubSpot, like Go High Level, right? And if you don't know what any of these are yet, don't worry about it. We can get in, we can talk about it in another video, but you can just look them up. And if you are selling for a company, they will have a CRM. So just using the CRM that you're given or implementing one in whatever it is you sell is great, because then you're going to be able to have like a bird's eye view of all the prospects that you're speaking to, that have booked and that have closed. And something you can do really, which is really cool inside of CRMs, is set reminders. So you can set reminders to follow up with John on Thursday, follow up with Anthony on Thursday, follow up with Sarah on Saturday. And you can leave notes on these accounts, right? So you can set follow-ups, remind yourself to follow up with people, because trust me, you may think it's easy to keep up with this stuff, but it's really not. So if you set yourself reminders where, it just pops to the top of your software when you need to follow up with somebody, you will close more deals. You can also make notes on accounts, because again, it's impossible to remember conversations that you had with people a week ago if you speak to like 100 people a week, which is what I do. So making a note on the account, hey, John, he's in this niche, he's doing this, and his objection was this, he needs to speak to his wife, and follow up on Thursday. So you can make those notes on the accounts, you can manage your pipeline more effectively, and when you do reach back out to John and say, hey John, what's going on, you have a little bit of information that you can pull from that account to make the message more personalized. Build this into your routine. It's something I really struggle with to get started with. I was really unorganized. I'm a little bit of an unorganized person sometimes. But yeah, if you build this into your routine, you spend 30 minutes a day just organizing your pipeline, you will close more deals. For the time it takes you to organize your pipeline, do your follow-ups, do your manual reach outs, right? Like I talked about in the last slide, where you kind of remind people to show up. All these little things really stack up over time, where you can start closing 2-3 more deals a week, which over a month leads to like thousands of dollars more just by keeping track of people that you followed up with. So that's pipeline management. The final thing I'm going to talk about in this super quick summary is the pull-up strategy, right? Which is when someone books onto your calendar for 2 days out or 3 days out, when you're not on calls or you have a little bit of availability in your calendar, you can give that person a call on the mobile, on your like mobile phone. So say for example, someone didn't show up, or say for example, you have like an hour block now where you don't have a call, but Sarah booked on for like Friday and it's like Wednesday right now. So you can call Sarah and be like, hey Sarah, what's going on? Super excited to chat with you. I read through your application. It looks awesome. Don't suppose you have a quick 30 minutes later this afternoon. I'd love to have a chat with you even sooner if possible. What this does is not only show like business, what's the word? Like you have a put together business. I can't think of the word, but like a business is put together because you're on top of leads. So you're like getting on top of them. You're reaching out to them. You're giving them a quick call. So you seem like sophisticated even. That's kind of maybe a word, right? You're put together. You're a put together business. But when someone books is when they're most interested. 2 to 3 days pass. They're going to be way less interested. Life gets in the way. They've forgotten about the thing. Then they get on a call. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. But if you reach out to them as soon as they've booked and see if they're available later this afternoon or in a time slot that wasn't available on your calendar, then you can fill them in and you're way more likely to close them. And I think that's a huge like strategy that it really not a lot of people talk about, but just being able to identify leads that book out a few days in advance, pull them up to right now or pull them up to as soon as possible and close them while they're still hot, because there's like a scale, right? There's like the lead is most warm within the first like minute or like 10 minutes of reaching out to someone, and if you can contact them in that time, as the time goes on, their warmth or their likelihood to close goes down. So if you're able to reach out to them super quick, you will close way more deals because your business also just looks put together, or your business you're selling for also looks really put together. So that's a quick strategy there. Manage your pipeline, pull up future leads, and make sure you do your reminders and have a big calendar available so you're able to speak to the most amount of warm prospects possible. Finally, as promised, I'm going to talk about how to get into sales. Okay, so how to get into sales? Well, here's what we're going to cover in the video. First of all is what to sell. What is the best thing that I think is the easiest way to make 10K a month online or 20K a month online? What can you sell? Second of all is how to find the right thing to sell, right? So what you're going to sell, how to find the right thing in that bracket, in that category to sell, and then how to land the role, how to end up actually selling this thing, right? And if you do sell your own business, if you have your own thing, then that's perfect. But if you're looking to find a role to make your first, like I talked about at the start of this video, to make your first $1,000, $10,000 online, I'm going to cover how I would do it because this is something that I did last year and it worked out really well, as I showed you, right? So first of all is what to sell. Well, there are 4 things you can sell, and it's probably way more. If you think about it, you can get into in-person sales, real life sales, like I call it real life, like door knocking or car sales or whatever. But we're going to talk about online, right? We want time, location, freedom. So how can you make money from your laptop? You can sell other services. You can sell some services, sell marketing. I talked about a lot in this video. You can sell products, right? So you can sell headphones, or you can sell physical in-person things, right? Which again, not the best. Software's great. You can definitely sell software. That's super scalable. You can sell software or information. Which, spoiler alert, this is going to be my go-to is information, because I think there's a huge trend right now around courses. Right, this is a course you're watching. Hopefully, if you're at this point, it's been valuable to you. And this is obviously free, but a lot of people are making a lot of money from courses, and it's the way that I've made my $20,000 months is by selling information, and I think it's the easiest one to get into as well. So how do you find the info to sell if you're not going to create it yourself? Right? Online communities. These platforms are blowing up right now. You've probably heard of School. You may not have heard of Warp or Kajabi, but these are other platforms where you can sell online communities and sell online courses. Again, right, there's a big stigma around courses, but if you're selling a good course that people have gone through and got results for, it helps people out. It's not like just a scam or like a cash grab. You can find these communities, these courses. It doesn't have to be around making money. It can be how to look after your pet dog, how fitness courses, all these big courses at the moment. People are creating communities and courses. It's like a trend, right? And as the trend of courses and information goes up, then there's more courses that need to be sold, right? So there's more opportunities for you to sell these products, these info products. Here's my recommendation to you. Joining these groups and these programs and providing value. So providing value is pretty vague, but what I mean by that is by joining Q&A calls, making valuable contributions, building your personal brand within a course, a community, or a program. I'm going to talk about School really quick because this is obviously what I do. We run a school community. We do like 200K a month. I make sales for this community, right? This can be anything that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be making money online. If it is something that helps you make money, then it makes it easier to sell, right? You can have a desired outcome of income and revenue, and you can promise all like the time, location things. But also fitness programs, passion projects, like learn how to get better at tennis. Well, there's a lot around that as well. Like anything it is. So it doesn't have to be around making money. It does help if it is. If that's something you want to get into, you want to make a lot of money from this, then get into making money online, selling courses around that. It's very important that you find one that's actually got results and is actually good. Though you don't want to start selling some program that's like rubbish and that nobody likes, because if you sell something bad, then it's going to affect your mindset, like I talked about, right? But if you sell something good, then it's going to help you sell more because you're actually having a positive impact. So My recommendation is to join a school community, or join a what community, or join a Kajabi community. Like if you want to get join a school community, join our free one. Right? I'm not saying you can sell for it, but join it just to get the fundamentals of school. Join other programs. Join a paid program. Join $100 a month paid program. Then start providing value in these communities. Join every Q&A call. Have questions. Provide value. Build trust. Like make value posts in these communities. Start posting around your journey. Start posting help, like replying to people's comments, replying to other members of the community, and just making connections. Like build a network, make friends, and eventually you'll make connections with the owner. This is another hack that you've got. Right? A lot of these big programs now, instead of being like 20K upfront, 10K upfront, you can get in low tier communities for like a couple $100 a month, $100 a month. I'm not saying you have to join a bunch, but join a free group, then join a paid group, and find something that you're passionate about. Whether that's making money online, whether that's looking after your pet dog, whatever it is. Join these communities, be active, provide value, reach out to members and the owner even, and just give without any expectation initially, right? And this is going to lead you into landing a role. So how do I land a role? Manual outreach. Let's craft a message together right now. So if I pull up Google and we go to here, we go to Untitled. That's my word. Yeah, let's craft a super quick message together right now. Hey, name. I know you get pitched all the time. Oh, but I just wanted to reach out because I've seen a trend in other communities that might be right. So first thing we're going to touch on is that they get pitched all the time. So hey, I know you get pitched all the time, lol. I just want to reach out to you because I see a trend in the communities that might be beneficial to this one. Again, the key to this is that you've been showing your face, you've been joining Q&A calls, you've been making connections, you've been providing value within these communities, these programs, these courses. So they've seen your face, they know you. You might even spoke to the owner a couple of times, maybe on a Q&A call, right? The creator, the owner, whatever, the team behind it. You want to go to like low to medium sized communities as well. You want to join these big like 200K a month communities. It's possible to make connections in there and do that. But if you can join a community doing 10, 20K a month, that's what we were doing. We were doing like 30, 40K a month actually before we started doing sales calls. And then we did sales calls for these communities, for this community, and doubled our sales and went from 40K to 80K a month. So might be beneficial to this one. I've noticed other communities are taking sales calls, and I have a background in sales. Or training in sales, or however you want to say. I just want to check if that's what I say. Yeah, let's craft a message, no-brainer offer. So you want to make the offer no-brainer. Would you be open to having a chat about me potentially doing sales calls for this community? I've been here a while and love what you're doing. Right, so again, you've been in the community like 30 days, 60 days, whatever, you've 30 days or 2 weeks, you've been providing value, you've spoken to the owner, you've met people in there, you've been posting, so now he sees you, or he or she, whoever it is, knows you. I say he because I'm thinking of Max, when my situation, when Max hired me to do it, but the owner, the creator sees you, they recognize you, you're reaching out with a message, you're going to be having a chat about potentially doing sales calls for this community. I've been here a while, love what you're doing. I wouldn't want paying unless I closed deals, so I could even start by setting my own calls. Cool. All right. So this is a super off-the-cuff message. Obviously, you can optimize it. You can use ChatGPT to help you out a little bit. But you're just reaching out to people you're kind of warm to because you've been in the community for a while. You're giving them a no-brainer offer, which is you wouldn't get paid unless you close deals. And you can start by sending your own calls. You can start by reaching out to people who are on their social media, in their free communities. If they have like an email capture, you can email people and say, hey, would you like to book a call? There's a lot of systems for booking calls in these type of communities and platforms and courses where you could set easily 5 to 10 calls a day on your calendar to sell people into that paid option. Sorry. So that's a message I would send out. I'd also use ChatGPT to help you out a little bit. Get back to this here. So how to land the role. Craft that message, manually outreach to these like creators, and make a no-brainer offer. What's important is this won't always work straight away. But I almost guarantee you, if you do this for 10 communities, 10 courses, and you send this out, one person, one creator, one owner will take you seriously and give you a shot to start selling for these communities, right? And if it's $1,000, if it's $2,000 for this program, you make 20%, 10%, whatever it is, you can make $200, $300 per sale and close 2 a day. If you have 10 calls, you close 2 a day. That's a terrible close rate. If you have 5 calls, you close 1 a day. You get $200 a day. You're making £1,000, $1,000, whatever, a week online with no training, like just going from watching this course, right? So I think this is a huge opportunity, and no one's taking advantage of this. There's so many growth operators. There's so many people starting their own businesses. But there's these big courses, these big programs out there that are desperate for people to start making sales for their communities, their programs, their courses, right? And you can be that person to go in and start making your first $10,000 this way. So crafting a no-brainer offer, like I just talked about a little bit, was like, hey, I'll set my own calls if you don't have a funnel for this. You can also say, I only get paid if I close deals, right? So I only get paid from revenue you make. So that's a no-brainer. You can also slowly, not straight away, but slowly help them optimize their core funnel. So bring in ideas like, hey, we can set up like a Calendly with, sorry, I'm coughing. I've been speaking for hours, but yeah, you can start, hey, we have some qualifying questions. You can start helping them optimize their sales funnel and their CRM based on the things you've learned in this course, right? That's kind of it. That's kind of the end of this course here, right? I've got the last slide there. But just to clarify and summarize this, I think it's super simple. And I think it's unrealistic if you do this for 10 people, 10 courses, 10 programs, that you won't get someone saying, hey, let's give it a shot because it's no risk. So you've learned the fundamentals of sales, you've learned the scripts, you've learned objections. Obviously, you're going to have to put all of this into practice. You've learned then what to do when you're off the call to book more calls. And this is all information that you can take to these communities, these courses, and these program owners to apply to their funnel. You reach out, you join communities you're interested in, you join communities that are what's the word? That are prospering, that are doing well, that are starting to make money online, 10, 20, 30,000 a month. And you offer a no-brainer after providing some value in the group for them to start making sales at no risk to the owner whatsoever. And you can slowly help them optimize their call funnel. And if you're booking 10 calls a day and you're closing 3 and you're making $300 a sale, this starts to ramp up really quickly. So if that was helpful, subscribe, leave a comment. That'd be great. I'd love to hear some feedback. And yeah, definitely check out some of the call recordings I have on this channel. I'm going to be posting a lot of sales content going forward. So let me know, and I'll see you next time.